Good afternoon, everyone. It's Rupert from Business Growth Bureau. I've got Muriel Gibbons with me this afternoon. So welcome and thank you very much for joining us today. Officially we start at 2 o'clock. We do try and kick off a few minutes early. It's been a little bit tight today because we had lots of phone calls booked in as well. So those of you who are joining us as we speak, if you could just say hello in the chat and also just confirm that the video and audio is okay, that'd be fantastic. So Muriel, are you checking Facebook and YouTube streams? Are they all appearing?
Yeah, both are absolutely fine.
Good. And for some reason, my face has gone as red as a beetroot, which I'm going to try and sort out if I can. Right, let's just see where I can sort this out a little bit. Right. So you can tell this is live. We're going live about 1.5 minutes, just so everyone knows. That's not made it any better, is it? Just give me a second. Right, just bear me a second, everyone. I'll let you just switch your phone off if that's all right.
I have done. Yeah, I have done.
Right. I'm not sure I can sort the color out properly on mine, but let me just try something else. Wait a second. Right, hopefully that's a bit less beetroot coloured. So, not sure it is. Anyway, those of you who are joining us as we speak, if you do introduce yourselves on chat, it'd be great. We've got Lady D. I'm not sure what D stands for, but welcome, lady. It's great to see you this afternoon. Deacon, welcome. Delighted to hear that you're part of the live stream today. Where are you both from? And obviously, any of those of you who are joining us as we speak, do just say hello, and we'll look forward to seeing you. As part of this live stream this afternoon. So, Muriel, what's everything good on your side there?
Everything's good. Yeah, both feet are working okay. The sun is shining. What more can I ask for?
Excellent. Okay. Well, I think what we'll do is we'll let me just share my screen so we can just make sure everything is ready to go. And for some reason, I'm not seeing. There we go. That's a little bit better. Okay, so thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. I think what we'll do is we'll get started. We'll give everyone about another minute or so just to come online. And welcome Deacon from Ireland. And we've got someone from Aberdeen as well. So thank you for a little bit of a shout out there as well. That's really appreciated. So in terms of what we plan to cover today is we're going to explain an awful lot about some of the strategies we'd recommend as we come into this new world order, as it were. Clearly, we're going through a period of massive change over the last 12 months, probably change like none of us have ever seen before. But the exciting thing is this is creating potentially a whole new range of opportunities. But the crucial thing is, of course, we need to be able to adapt and change our business model to suit. And in terms of a bit of food for thought around that, obviously we know what's happening in France and Germany at the moment, and it's ironic that they're looking to Russia for vaccines at the present time, especially in light of what happened in Salisbury, but I don't think we'll mention that anymore as part of this live stream today. Obviously, very privileged in the UK to have had over 30 million people vaccinated. I feel one of the very privileged few, and I know Muriel, you probably feel the same way on that. And at least we can see the signs of lockdown coming to an end, and the economy is starting to open up. In fact, I saw a report this morning on one of the national newspapers coming through online, and they were saying that they're expecting businesses to be investing something like £240 billion over the next few months as the whole economy starts to return. So clearly we shouldn't dismiss what's going on at the moment. So there are some real opportunities for those that do adapt and change. And one thing is for sure is this spring is going to be very much like no other. I think we could have said that about last spring as well. But at least this time around, things are a little bit more on our side, thank goodness. And what I'd be really keen for you to do is do introduce yourselves in the chat and tell us what you're really passionate about. At the end of the day, when you're running a business, we all have to be really motivated by a sense of personal why, and also our business why needs to be very much aligned, because when things are tough, it's those parts that help us to see our way through. Also, do indicate in the chat what you'd like to see out of today. We've updated this presentation quite a bit for this mini conference, but nevertheless, it's never the same as someone else actually telling you what they want or what questions they actually have. So do be bold with your questions. It is obviously about non-promotion as part of today. It is about sharing value, but just be bold with your questions. We really like seeing those come through. And I think the crucial thing is to remember as well, it really is the opportunity to adapt and change and innovate. I think the day of some of the dinosaurs, we know what happened eventually to those. And a lot of the benefit with small to medium-sized businesses are that, by definition, we're very, very nimble. So as the economy starts to return, we will be the engine for growth. A lot of the big corporates are basically running big equivalent of oil tankers, which takes months or even years to turn them around. And we're very privileged that we are able to respond to the new market conditions fairly quickly. And also the other thing is we can excel in providing excellent service. And that's another way of really standing out against the really large players out there. And Seth Godin, in fact, this quote was actually said about 4 years ago. And I've thought about changing. I thought, well, actually, why? You know, at the end of the day, it's as true now, if not more true now than ever. And at the end of the day, why change something which actually is very profound and is very true? So what we're going to be explaining a lot more today is about what we class as your optimized systems for business growth. So we'll be looking at your strategic guidance systems, your value and brand optimization systems, how you can amplify everything you're doing around your brand. We're discussing also about the social selling blueprint, which is lead generation, prospect nurturing, sales optimization, and also how you can then look after those clients. So effectively they become, hate the expression, but raving fans. And some of those actually want to then buy from you again, or want to cross-refer or give referrals. And they can be, of course, again, great engines for growth. What we're also going to be discussing is your ideal marketing and product mix, how to maximize sales through LinkedIn. And we'll also explain how BizGrowth Time Machine will transform your business through a technology solution in a box, which will save you massive amounts of time and create some new opportunities through. And we'll also, if you've not completed the sales marketing diagnostic, we'll also be explaining how you can do that as well. And this is very much in the theme of helping you to bring your sales forward, amplify your brand and get your time back. And we'll also be explaining to you today how you can, from 100 cold leads in your chosen target market, how you can turn those into 10 hot prospects. And you can do that with consistency month in, month out. So today's broken into two parts. The first part is what we class as educational and insights. There will be a break at around 3:30. It might be 15 minutes early, it might be 15 minutes later, because we're not quite sure how many questions are going to come up. And there'll also be the sessions, particularly around LinkedIn, will be in the second part. And there'll also be a live panel discussion. There will be an opportunity for those of you who'd like to engage, for you to actually join us in what we class as the virtual green room. So if you are interested in being featured in that, come up with some good questions. We may well pick you out and ask whether you'd like to take part, only of course if you want to do so, in which case you will actually become part of the live stream today as well in that context. And who's this for? Well, today is for CEOs and leaders of business who want business growth. It's for those who are open-minded. Obviously, we've all got to be prepared to adapt and willing to change. And it's for those leaders who really value their time. And clearly, if you're aspirational and want to have a big impact, then you're going to get lots out of today. Those of you who don't value your time, or believe that Albert Einstein was wrong when he says the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, then clearly this isn't for you. And I think we've all fallen into this trap from time to time. I certainly have. And sometimes it takes someone else to point out usually the bleeding obvious, for us to realize what's really going on. And then around that, what we would recommend is join us for both sessions. Also recommend closing down all other tabs in Google Chrome. Ideally, we recommend Google Chrome for the best experience, but certainly make sure you close around the tabs to avoid any distractions. As I say, if not completed the diagnostic, we'll give you an opportunity to do that a bit later. And we've already talked a little bit about the workshop. We're also going to be having some competitions. Now, the competition, interestingly, today is basically, as you know, these big social media platforms, whether it's on the platform you're on today or one of the other ones, they really give preference to engagement. So those of you who are very active today, either in liking or sharing what you're joining in today, or equally just commenting on other people's posts in a positive way, and also making a point of liking other people's content if you like it as well, then do so, because not only is it nice for other people who are on this call today, and it makes everyone feel good about it, but also it helps us to get the message out there on a much bigger scale. So, and what we'll be doing is at the end, I'll be asking Muriel to help me. And on this, we're going to be awarding 3 prizes today. There'll be one £20 Amazon voucher and 2 £10 Amazon vouchers. And the ones which are of you which are most proactive today will have a chance to enter in that. Do feel you can join in and take fun. So, and thank you for those of you who've already given the thumbs up and also liked what we're doing today. Obviously, it's always appreciated. It is a chance for you to be involved, and we've already explained that. And a quick intro from myself, and then Muriel. So Muriel, I'll ask you to comment in just a moment. And I won't go into any real detail about this because obviously I value your time. But that's myself, my wife, Wendy. It's my son, Sam, loves playing chess. I've still actually got the tournament at the moment, or the little trophy. We have got a little bit of a competition between us both. Unfortunately, it's rather too good as he does beat me, perhaps with more regularity than I would like. And the dog on the right-hand side, I've got a dog called Gus. He's 12 months old. And that's a time when we had a chance to travel a little bit, which, of course, I'm sure we'd all relish. Now, Muriel, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit briefly?
Yeah, it's me and my husband, John. We've been married, 40 years. My 3 lovely boys, who I'm very, very proud of. I'm not mad about the body art, but what can you do? Boys will be boys, but they're absolutely great. Love them to bits. And I'm really, really passionate about developing relationships with people and trying to help them in whatever way I can. I just enjoy engaging with people.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you. And I've made a little caption there, which every business needs a mural. Murals, I've known Muriel for 15, 16 years now, Muriel, is it?
16, I believe.
Yes, and I think apart from my wife, who probably deserves a bigger medal, I think Muriel was a very close runner-up for that one, but just for wanting to work with me. So anyway, Muriel just makes sure behind the scenes everything happens. So very grateful for that. And I've already done the intro, so I won't go over that anymore as far as that's concerned. But one of the things I would just like to say is that I personally get great pleasure out of working with directors and leaders of companies. And one of the things I also feel very importantly about is about the importance of circular relationships where everyone wins. Now, there's a lot of cheap talk about corporate social responsibility. In fact, I was having a conversation with someone earlier on today, and whenever I hear the word CSR, in my mind, almost alarm bells go up, because usually you know it's the big corporate who's saying it, and actually they're just doing it because they have to do it, rather than perhaps they are particularly engrossed in that particular cause. Now, I might be being a bit unfair, because actually there's lots of corporates who do really care about charities and other organizations, their workforce, and all the suppliers I work with. But there's one very large brand, which I won't mention by name, because it was also said to me in confidence this morning. And they're a very large corporate who can easily afford to do it. And they're trying to move their current suppliers from 120-day payment terms to 180-day payment terms. And that particular corporate entity is a very wealthy organization. It's international, who could quite easily afford to pay their suppliers on time. And to my way of thinking, these very big entities need to think about how they can look after their own suppliers and customers better. And this is, to me, the real importance of circular relationships. If you make everyone feel really good about working with you, whether they're investors, prospects, clients, partners, associates, or even suppliers, make sure that you treat your suppliers fairly and look after them, because at the end of the day, they can be really good referrers into you as well. And if we're all here to help each other, then it's a much nicer place to be in. And clearly your own management team and your staff as well. I'll also just mention that I'm very blessed in other ways, because we've got a very good advisory team. Got a gentleman called Chris Cooper, who has co-hosted the Thursday live streams with me quite frequently. He also is involved with another podcast, which has been going on for 10 years now. He's up to his 400th show. So very blessed to have him heavily involved in what we're doing. Karen Davies, a very big supporter of ourselves, very grateful to her. And a lot of, again, SME and corporate experience. And also Alex Reardon, formerly IBM, responsible for 5,000 employees, very much there in the background, offering his help and support when needed. And those who joined us last week's live stream will know Barnaby fairly well. He's great fun, very entertaining. And when you see him, especially in front of an audience, he just loves people, and it becomes very obvious when you see him speak and engage. And a bit of sharing of market insights as far as today is concerned. And what we're going to do is also discuss how this impacts your business. So the first thing is, let's look at the distribution of companies in the UK. Now, I think some of you have actually so fairly regular on these mini conferences. So some of these slides you may have seen before, and if you have, I apologize, but at the end of the day, for new people coming in, these numbers are really important. And these are numbers which can be substantiated. They are from the Office of National Statistics. So you can believe what's being said here. But there are 3.2 million one-bit person SMEs in the UK. There's a further 1.2 million businesses in the UK which employ between 2 and 10 people. That's so it's not 74% of the workforce and 21. So that's 95% of businesses in the UK employ 10 or less people. So just bear that in mind, 95% employ 10 or less people. And around that, if you then broke it down even further, that's not including sole traders, by the way. So if you had sole traders in there, those numbers are distorted even further. There's another 220,000 businesses which employ between 11 and 50 people. So that's 99% of business in the UK employ less than 50 people. And these percentages, the numbers will be different. But if you're in the United States, for example, more of the sort of Western style economies, if we can put it that way, the numbers will be different, but the percentages are not vastly different, interesting enough. But 99% of businesses employ less than 50 people, and only 1% employ between 51 to 250. And the corporates, which are 6,500 businesses in the UK, the number's so small as a percentage, it's showing a 0 on this chart. It's actually something like 0.05% or whatever that number is. Okay, that's a slightly counterbalance that. There are the corporates employ pretty well half the workforce in the UK. Okay, so but it is the smaller businesses which are the real engines of the economy. So we need to be very mindful of that. And what you also need to think about is if your core proposition is a fairly high ticket sale, it may not be that you're, and I'm talking about more if you're in the services space or the consulting services space or training space, then your target market may not be large parts of this 3.2 million. It may only be a small part of the 1.2 million. Okay, so just bear that in mind. And the difficulty is if you are in this tier where the one-person businesses, and they're say below the VAT threshold, to expect them or ask them to invest, £5,000, £10,000, £50,000, whatever it is that your core proposition is, it is a very, very big ask. There's got to be a very strong reason for it. So your sweet spot might be somewhere else. So that's why I particularly wanted to highlight that to you. Also, we will be covering some more slides, a little bit more, around the medium-sized business space in a little while, but also just focusing on the coaching. If you're a coach, trainer, consultant, mentor for a moment, there's a rule of 3/3, which is a really interesting one. So what that basically means, if you've got 260 working days in a year, knock off 40 days for holidays, sick pay, time off with family, whatever you choose to put it, or sickness, then that brings it down to 220 working days. What you then need to do is divide that number by 3. Okay, the reason you need to divide that number by 3 is that usually you'll be spending about a third of your time prospecting and finding clients. You'll be spending another third of your time on self-development and also dealing with void periods, i.e. where you don't have enough work coming through, as it were. Then the other third of the time will be billable work or fee-paying work, okay? Now, if you've got a very well-oiled machine, you may well be able to, and as a one-person business, you may be able to push that a fee-paying element to 50 or 60%. But the vast majority of people in this space don't have a proper lead generation system. As a consequence, there'll be these real peaks and troughs, which can be a real issue in terms of how you grow your business. So it's worth really bearing that in mind. And then moving on from that, as well, we've got the normal cyclical things that appear. So let's think about some of the cyclical things. You've got seasonal effects. You've obviously got winter or summer, depending what your industry sector is, can be good times. It can also be bad times. Also, if you get into a position where you are very busy with delivery or creating products or busy with clients, what happens invariably is people take their foot off the pedal, and surprise, surprise, you end up in a massive trough again because all your efforts, lead generation efforts, have dried up again. The real trick with this is to be able to actually smooth this out and put yourself in a really strong growth path. And you also have to be prepared for the unexpected. And obviously, this last 12 months is a really, really good example of how you should be prepared for the unexpected. Now, to slightly bring into balance, strictly speaking, we were probably last year due for some form of recession, because typically you will have some form of recession every 10, 11 years. Okay, so the last one was 2009, 2010, and we would due one last year anyway. But of course, with COVID coming along, that further accentuated it. Now, obviously, some businesses have hugely benefited out of COVID. Others have been, are still being very badly impacted on it today. And obviously, our heart goes out to all those businesses which are affected by what's going on. The other side of it, of course, are the businesses doing really well. And hopefully as well, because we've had this very big trough, which has gone on for over a year or so now, the expectation is it will start to come back very, very strongly. And again, a lot of the reports in the media and the press are coming back this way. I think the government themselves have released some official statistics on this. So it's really important we now get ready for what is about to come. And so, right, so what we're going to be talking about today is also the importance of following the social selling blueprint, which is really everything around lead generation, prospect nurturing, and sales optimization. What I mean by that is if you've got these 3 cogs, if any 3 of these cogs stop turning, then surprise, surprise, the other 2 stop turning as well. So you may have a very good way of closing clients down once they get to speak to you. But if you're not getting enough of those coming through the door, then of course, you're always going to perpetually struggle. Equally, you could be very strong at generating leads, but you're then really poor on the follow-up. And as a consequence, then the net effect is the same. And then and so on. So you get the point over that. If you do things consistently, what you should be able to build up is a continual lead flow of opportunities coming in, put in place a highly nurtured prospect nurturing process, which we normally recommend a 5 to 7 message process part of that, in which case you can get people warmed up so they're actually asking to have those type of conversations. And that's really important to understand. And we've already, obviously, there's been a major elephant in the room, which we're all still dealing with now. But fundamentally, it is about looking outwards. Now really isn't the time anymore to be looking inwards. I was saying in March last year, when COVID first came along, yes, natural tendency is to look inwards, and it's the reptilian part of our brain plays tricks on us, and it trains our brain basically to think that we should look inwards and start to look at ourselves and what we could do a lot better. Now, that's a good thing to do. We always need to have that reflective period. But at the end of the day, we've had a year to get round to that now. So we need to now be looking outwards and look how we can adapt and change, avoid that cave at all costs, apart from a little bit of personal time, which you might need with yourself and your family. Speak to your customers. Your customers will remember you for how you make them feel. So if you're a hairdresser, it's a case in point. I'm slightly nicking Alex Reardon's story here. If he's on the call today, he'll no doubt recognize that I'm nicking his story. But if you're a hairdresser, for example, or work in a beauty salon or some other industry, then make sure you contact all those customers of yours, because even though you've not seen them for 6 months, if you actually demonstrate that you care, and also it's a great way of making sure you're oversubscribed to start with, reach out to them. And it's a really good way of making people feel good about their relationship with you. And obviously cash flow is king. Clearly you don't want to spend money that you haven't got, or if maybe it's a good time to invest in your business as well. But it's also important to understand the difference between good money and bad money. If you're spending money on assets, which it might be for new plants and equipment for your business, clearly that's a good form of investment. If you're spending money on marketing to bring more sales in, although accountants will regard that as being an overhead, I would actually disagree with that. I'd actually go as far as to say that's an investment. Really important at these times like now, you're investing in your business so that you can ride the wave as the market returns. And that's what we class as good money. Spend money on the right things, that's good money, that's an investment. Spend money on the wrong things, then of course you're just heading on a road to nowhere. So just really worth bearing that in mind. So today we're going to be working with you to make sure I've got everything in place around growing you personally, growing your business. We're explaining a lot more about the social selling system and how to scale your business. And we're looking also at customers, products and markets. So I'm going to just sort of a quick break for a second, just look at some of the chat, and also just to look at a few what people have been saying as well. So right, so I can see someone's also said welcome all. It's got Muriel, I don't know if we can identify who that is, can we? If you come involved,
yeah, that was me. You said welcome to everyone.
Oh. It just says on our side here, we can just see Business Growth Beer, and someone says welcome all. Sometimes people join us via a closed group, and rather frustrating on our live feed here, we don't actually see who it is, so we have to try and second guess it. So it's Muriel saying hello to everyone. So okay, and then we've got Neslin, hopefully I pronounced your name correctly, this afternoon. Welcome, it's nice to see you here. Alenia, a lovely name, by the way, and personal empowerment for children and young people. People definitely need that now. So, how many teenagers or young adults or children need support at the moment? My God, it's definitely needed. And Deacon, welcome as well. We said hello earlier on. And let me have a look here. Who else we got here? Right, lovely. And I loved your comments, Deacon, there. And there's a lady called Women Flicks as well. I'm not sure who you are, but do say hello to us in the chat a little bit more. It'd be great. And win times win situations, the best practice. Agree with that, Lena. Thank you very much for that. So do keep the comments coming, and do share and like it if you're enjoying today. And if we want to get the message out there for everyone's benefit. And I'm going to carry on. Obviously, if you've got any questions, do put them in the chat. Really dying to know what they might be. And
I think Woman Flicks is Yola.
Ah, right.
So hello, Yola.
Yeah, hello, Yola. Right. I assume you've joined us via YouTube, haven't you? So that's why, yeah. Okay, right. So let's explain a little bit more about this. We talked about this at the very beginning, just for a second. I will be going into more detail about this. But fundamentally, it's really important from a business growth point of view that you have these 7 systems actually in place, okay? And we'll be going into a lot more detail about this and explaining why and what you can do to put this in place. And we're going to actually start off with your strategic guidance systems, okay? Now this, if you think about it, this is really to do with your dashboard. Imagine you're in a commercial aircraft, you're a pilot on a plane, you're surrounded by dashboards and dials and everything else like that. That is a central nervous system, as it were, for everything that helps you to get to your destination. So what we're talking about there is what you can put in place around it. So, for example, we'd suggest you've got the equivalent of a one-page business plan as a dashboard. Okay, so you've got your key numbers there for your business in terms, and also outline a strategy on there. I'm not talking about a meaty document. Now, they have their place. If you're looking to go on a major funding round, then clearly you may need to do a more detailed business plan document. Okay, but what I'm talking about here is a living, breathing document, which might only be 1 or 2 pages, which becomes like your business dashboard. You may then also have what you class as a one-page marketing dashboard, which again has all your key numbers in there. So maybe talking about, where all your leads come from. How many leads do you need to actually generate a continual stream of prospects? How many touch points do you need to have to reach out to those prospects? How many conversations do you need to have to actually lead to that one meeting, whether it's physical or virtual meeting? From that, how do you take people to the next part of the journey? So all those key numbers need to be part of your dashboard. And then as part of that, you've got your one-page sales dashboard as well, which really is where you have your key numbers and everything else like that. Now, that feeds into the whole strategic piece. All those key numbers feed into that strategic piece. Then around that, you've then got what we class as your value and brand optimization part. Okay, now people will need to understand what you're all about. What is your story? Both personally and in business. How did you get into your current business? How do you take on that role? What type of difference do you actually want to be make? What do you want to be known for? And a few little examples here, but clearly a lot of this ties in around value and brand optimization. And if you want to know more about that, just go back to last week's live stream on Thursday. Barnaby Winter did a really, really good talk about this as well. So you really enjoy that. But also just look at the United Nations 17 global goals. And just see whether you can tie into 1 or 2 or possibly 3 of those as far as your business is concerned. Because if people really get what you're all about, then great. And as a case in point, for example, I was having a conversation with a company last week. It started off only a couple of years ago, but they specialize in e-bikes. And obviously the big thing with e-bikes is that it's very good for the environment. You're avoiding using cars, right, using a bit of electricity as well as a bit of human power, as it were, into it. But you're not consuming, you're not creating lots of CO2 emissions. You're not using petrol or diesel to get from A to B, and so on. And also, the other thing is good fun as well. So think about some of these global goals you could plug into as well if you're a bit short of ideas. And around that part of it, you also may want to consider how you can very much lead from the front. If you can be a really good tribe leader, as it were, so that people buy into your mission, passion, values, as it were, then what you're going to find is other people want to tap into that positivity and that energy and success. And one of the things that we decided to do last year in March is we decided to run these weekly live streams. And these live streams start off March last. We thought it's really a time to give back, and we involved lots of different guest speakers of that in those live streams. And they've now running still today. We decided actually it's such a great thing to do. We have such amazing conversations. We have lovely conversation with people afterwards. It's really important to keep that going. So what is your vision and mission? What do you want to be known for? So just think about it really hard. And around that, these are just ordinary people doing amazing things. Look at what Neil Lawson, for example, has done. He's a serial adventurer. He was an ex-Special Forces, and he's been up Everest 6 times. The top left picture there with the gentleman with the red coat and the gold colored coat is Neil Lawson with Bear Grylls. And then at 22,000 feet, they actually had a dinner party at 22,000 feet up Everest as a bit of a way of creating a little bit more attention, having a bit of fun with it, raising money for charity, and so on. So what can you do that's a bit different? Now, obviously, it doesn't have to be to that extreme. He happens to have done 52 expeditions in his lifetime so far. but very interesting person. And look at, if you're a slightly younger demographic, and I'd love to feel that I fell into that, but you wouldn't believe me. Look at Danny McCaskill here. He rode the slabs on the Isle of Skye. Look him up on YouTube. Look at the video footage. That's like 5 or 6 minutes of high adrenaline footage. And of course, not surprisingly, he's got his hundreds of thousands of followers on that. So, you know, it's good to think of that. And then look at one of the things, the good thing as well, if you can empower your customers to feel the same way about you, then of course they'll tell lots of other people. So Claire Burrows, for example, runs a really good call center in Southborough, which is near Tunbridge Wells. And in the first 6 months of working with her, we managed to bring 11 new clients. Michael Romling, we started working with him some time ago, and he's been on our live stream a couple of times. And in the first year with us, he generated £160,000 worth of revenue as a one-person business just through campaigns we did. And then Adam Molson, as a case in point, they've formed a business about 3 or 4 years ago. They're currently over 100 strong. They grew from nothing to a company of that size. Their average value of sale starts at 300,000 and goes up to about £4 or £5 million. And it's a very complex sell because it requires multiple sign-off by multiple heads of departments. And I don't mean junior heads of departments. I'm talking about people potentially at director level or CXO level, and probably requires the sign-off of the CEO as well. And we're talking about banks here. Okay, so the reason why is because that software company has created a solution which acts as a piece of middleware which sits across all their platforms. And of course, if there's some piece of communication that breaks down between those different systems, you could have, as a case in point, people not being able to get their money out through their cash machines. So that's the type of complexity of their proposition, but a great company to know. But so I'm just giving you these just to slightly sow the seed in your mind, not only just to get a sense of the type of people we work with, but also about how you can help others to get your message out there for you, but also how they can become strong advocates of what you do. And that ties in really well also with the client enhancement referral system, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. And so I just lost my mouse pointer. Just spare me a second so I can try and go to the correct slide. And moving on from that, again, under this part, think about what is your story, your why, your business vision, mission and purpose, your social values and your customers, and look at your business and market alignments. Make sure that your business and messages you're getting out there are communicating with people in the right way. And around this, we also feel it's really important that you do go out to your existing clients as well and ask them what they really feel about you as well. Now, a good way of doing this is to interview people to camera. It could be over Zoom, for example. And perhaps speaking to someone like ourselves, for example, we can conduct this independently for you. And what you'll end up with some really nice case studies, which are filmed, and then you can turn that into a transcript. You can edit that down. It goes on your website. And also as part of the same session, you could then say, look, this part is not going out anywhere, but just for the benefit, so this can be passed on. So internally, we can discuss how we could do things better. Tell us what we could do better and how we could serve you better. And that's what we class as the brand reputation side. It's a way of understanding the experiences your clients are having with you, but also understanding how you can improve. And then you've got this whole thing around brand optimization as well. So we do these weekly live streams. If you want to set up something like that yourself, so you could start to increase your exposure and presence online, clearly that's something you can get help with, or we can help you with. And then the brand amplification side, it's really about looking at what's out there at the moment. So, for example, once you have a tribe, once you've got some followers as well, everything suddenly gets a lot easier. So social media is a case in point. If you've got people already following you because you've done some great things or you've touched people's lives, then social media is a great way of amplifying that message and getting it out there. Same with content writing and running video conferences and webinars and creating podcasts and so on. Email's an interesting one because a lot of people are using email marketing, but email is a very noisy place. So where you used to get away with 7 to 11 pieces of communication via email. Nowadays, you have to be able to communicate via multiple channels. Okay, a channel being email, it might be LinkedIn, it might be Facebook, and so on. So each one of those will be like a channel in its own right. And then obviously, what are you doing online? Are you doing some online networking or part of groups, blogs, and everything else around that? The difficulty with this, though, is that most of us are time challenged. Okay, and if you try and do all of this and you don't think very strategically about your outreach, you're going to find you're going to get really, really swamped and overwhelmed. And as a consequence, then nothing actually really happens, because your dent on the universe, if I can put it that way, is actually just being so diluted, it's not being heard. So we suggest a different approach around this. And the crucial thing was also to bear in mind is if you're on these platforms and you're not spending any money on them, then you are the commodity. You're the asset and the commodity. So does Facebook may make money out of people being on their platform? Okay, us just using Facebook, not directly per se, but because you are the asset and you are getting something free, you are also the commodity. So effectively, you become the data which enables advertisers who are prepared to spend money on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all these other channels. So you're actually creating the revenue stream for the Facebooks of this world and the YouTubes and so on. Now, I'm not saying that in a disparaging way, because of course, at the end of the day, we're getting massive benefit by being part of these platforms. But what I'm trying to say to you is that when you reach out in the way of content, in reality, you used to get a reasonable amount of exposure on Facebook and so on by putting this content out there. And you could get reasonable traction by using organic means. These days, these platforms expect you to pay to play, okay? And that's really important to bear in mind. So they expect you to pay to play. So you either invest your time, or you invest your money, or you invest both. And probably in an ideal world, you'd probably do both. But again, something is only free if you don't value your time. So it's just well worth considering all of that. Time it's not money that's the most important commodity. It's actually time. Okay. So think about how you can leverage your marketing and sales efforts, and how you can also get your time back. So I'll explain a bit more what I mean about that. Now, what I was wanting to do, it would take me probably 5 minutes to load it up. I might put it at Mira. Will you remind me during the break we have a bit later on? I'll probably put this on during the break, actually, because it's quite a fun little video. This you might think, well, why have I got this photo of this video clip here? I'm going to let you find out during the break. We'll put this into play over the break. But if you look at a lot of the Disney productions, they've gone out over the years, and then watch one piece of, say, The Jungle Book, and then watch Winnie the Pooh side by side, what you'll be surprised about or staggered about is the amount of repurposing that Disney has done with these respective films that have come out over time. And obviously, these days, because we've got animation, we've got fantastic power through computers and animation, everything else like this. Each one of these frames, bear in mind, you might have 25 to 30 frames per second. In the old days, we're all having to be hand drawn or hand painted. Of course, these days it's done digitally. But either way, it still takes a massive amount of time. But what I'll do is we'll put this on a bit later on. And the reason why I'm particularly flagging this up is it ties in really with this whole brand amplification piece. So let's look at this here. So now we talked a bit earlier about dashboards and so on. Look how you can amplify your brand around. The big thing is a lot of people will think to themselves, well, let's create some articles or posts, and I'll put these out through LinkedIn, or I'll put them out on Facebook, okay? The difficulty is that each one of these takes quite a long time to actually produce, okay? So, and you're reaching out through one medium. Wouldn't it be much better if you could create the content, as a video live stream, or some form of, perhaps you've been recorded presenting on stage somewhere, or some content, and then be able to repurpose that, and then repurpose it and redistribute it multiple times. So let's look at this. So if you look at video live streams, for example, if we took our Thursday live stream as a case in point, we invite a different guest on each week. And by the way, if you are an expert in your field, whether you're a coach, mentor, trainer, or consultant, or whether you're a leader of a business. We'd love to hear from you because we're always up for more volunteers for this. When we do a live stream, that goes out through Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter simultaneously. Okay. What we then do is about 2 weeks later, we'll have an edited version of that, and then it'll be rebroadcast across those channels. So it's the same content, but just edited down a little bit. And then what will happen, a slightly edited version that will go out through the podcasting channels. Okay. And typically through the podcasting channels, it goes things through like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, that Alexa word, which I've got to say carefully because otherwise it will suddenly wake up in the corner over there, and so on. But the big thing is you're perhaps reaching out through 8 podcasting channels as well. And that's from one piece of content. Then look at other things you can do, how you can leverage your message through social media as well. How can you get that message? How can you break it down to smaller sound bites so you can get it out across the other platforms? What can you do in the way of running online events as well? Now, obviously, you may be used to running physical events before lockdown, but of course, we've moved to the online world now. And what I suggest as a point of case in point is be ready to go hybrid, okay, with this, because we will, as things unfold in the next few months, people will be craving to go back to physical events again. So don't dismiss those at your peril, because yes, this will have a long-term profound effect. Yes, there'll be much more emphasis on hybrid models, but don't think the physical events have gone away, because they haven't. Okay, and then look at also around things like creating webinar content, and also, excuse me a second, and also how you could turn that into just-in-time webinars or automated webinars as well. And that's a really good way of being able to get a message out there without you just totally exhausting yourself in the process. And then once you've created that content, how can you then say, okay, I'll go a stage further, get that transcribed and make that into a downloadable report? Or instead, it could be a series of 5 or 6 posts or articles which are being generated from that one piece of content. And then what diagnostic tools have you put in place to further qualify those prospects so that you are spending time with people who are going to really value your contribution and who are more likely to actually buy from you? So this is what we mean really about the amplify your brand part of your proposition. So I'm going to pause just for a second, just a little bit of a look through the live stream. So I was just wondering whether those of you have got some really interesting points. So that we've got Jonathan Price on the move again. Well, hopefully you're not trying to watch on your phone at the same time as joining in, Jonathan. I'm seriously impressed. And Eleni is making the point about overwhelm usually is what freezes me, as I have so many ideas. In fact, actually, you've raised a great point there, because especially if you are in the space where you're helping and training other people, supporting other people, by definition, you're very creative. Also, by definition, you're probably very attractive. I'm not referring to Lena, because I obviously don't know you personally, per se, as it were. But, you know, we're very attracted to those shiny pebbles. And that can be good, because that keeps the mind fresh. But also the biggest problem with that is we can also lose a sense of focus. So it's just worth mentioning that. And yeah, so also you're mentioning about the volunteering and talking about self-awareness. Okay, that's lovely. Jonathan's obviously quick on the ball there in his response about not driving. So yes, so it'd be interested to know what questions you've got as part of today, because I don't want it to be a session where I'm broadcasting to you. I want to really hear your opinions and your questions. Okay, and you know, equally, how's your business evolved over the last 12 months? You know, were you finding it really tough? Are things starting to open up a little bit for you now? What have you put in place to grow your business and adapt your models for moving forward? All those type of comments, be really interested in hearing from you as well. So do engage in that way. We absolutely love it. So let's have a look, move on a little bit now, and we'll come back and have a look at those in just a moment. Let's look now what we class as a social selling blueprint, which is lead generation, prospect nurturing, and sales optimization. And as part of this, we're going to be looking at how the importance of having a balanced product portfolio, about your marketing mix and getting that right, and also about the social selling blueprint. And this, although you might think your product portfolio marketing mix. Why is it is it anything to do with those three cogs there? It's the reason being is if you haven't got those bits right, it's very difficult. It doesn't matter how hard you drive the leads through. People are never going to get your proposition. They'll probably never buy it. So this is why we sort of put it in really within this section for you as well. So to look at this a little bit more, let's look at your product pricing. Is your product pricing correct? Now, if it's too low cost, you probably end up attracting the wrong type of customers who either don't value what you do or just won't pay appropriately for what you have. If it's too high, then it could also mean that you price people out of the market. Or let's put it the other way around. Let's say you were a BMW, and let's say you want to be known for being reassuringly expensive. Okay, there's almost a contradiction in words there, isn't it? But if you're reassuringly expensive and you suddenly reduced your prices for 10 days or 14 days by 30% as a temporary offer, what effect would that have on your brand and your reputation? You would, is it going to cost you and your business a lot of money in the long term because of the reputational harm it's possibly done you? So pricing itself can be a thing which anchors value, bizarrely enough. Research is important. Having said that, there's nothing like real-time research and development. So, for example, in December last year, we wanted to add a new service around the brand amplification piece. Okay, we had some ideas over what we felt people would really like to see. Having said that, we didn't really know. They were just purely concepts and ideas. So we went out to our existing customers first, and we asked them what they thought, and they gave some really good feedback. And then we ran some focus groups, and that gave us some more feedback. Okay. The big thing is within a month, we've got a really good idea of what the market wanted. And so in January this year, we launched this brand amplification model. And also as part of further research, we're now introducing these other services around value brand optimization, strategic guidance, and also client enhancement, referral solutions. And it's because and it doesn't need to take a long time. Some of your customers can be great people to speak to. And also the nice thing is you get them to tell you what they want and you give them what they want. So really important, that one. Also, your product proposition, is that clear? Do people understand it? Is it a highly desirable product or service? Is your marketing product mix right? Have you got a balanced portfolio of products, and so on? And if we then look at your products this way round, do you have products which are free? For example, so in our case, our free proposition is really around our weekly live streams, and we run mini conferences as well, like you're joining us with today. And we also run some other sessions at no cost as well. And we've got quite a bit of video content on our website as well, which you can plug into. That's all available for free. Then you may have your foundation products. Now, a foundation product, if your average ticket price is quite low, let's say your core product is like a sub £1,000 or sub $1,000 product, it might be your foundation product is like a £5 or £10 sale. It might be a £50 or £100 sale. Okay, and that would be like a foundation product. If your core product is like over £100,000 or 50,000, maybe your foundation products are £2,000 or £3,000 or £5,000. Okay, what it's about really having easy stepping stones. People could get a bit of a sense of taste and experience what you have to offer. Okay, and those foundation products will make you some money, but it won't make you a lot. It may cover something towards your marketing costs and a bit more. But the part that will generate the real revenue for you will be what we class as your core products, which effectively is your cash cow. So but it's quite often the fact you've got those other solutions there, which will help people to buy into that core proposition. And then you've got products for upsells and cross-sells. And of course, that ties in really well with what we talked at the beginning. We'll be coming a bit later on, but also is suitable for member offers. So for example, if you recommend someone if you as a potential customer were recommending someone else into a product, that's like a member product. So it's about making sure that you've always got the right solutions to meet those different types of potential customers. And then on the marketing mix side, it's really about your making sure people are aware of what you do, having a clear understanding of what your ideal clients are,
look at your competition. Now, one word of warning about competition: a lot of people say look at your competition, and clearly you should do that. But what you shouldn't do is try and do the same as your competition, or even just a little bit better, because in reality, then you're almost lowering yourself to the lowest possible denominator. And the analogy that I would give is a bit like driving a car and looking only in your rear view mirror. If you're only looking at what's behind you all the time, firstly, you're almost certainly going to crash and burn. But the other thing is you're never going to gain any serious traction, or you're just going to be competing perhaps at the lower end of that proposition. So think about how you can be different and how you can be special. And that's the differentiation part. And then your company positioning, where does that stand in the marketplace? And it doesn't have to mean, say, you have to be expensive, but it just means you have to know where you stand and where you can carve yourself out a niche. So be aware of your competitors, but don't necessarily plan around what they have. Plan about what you can do and innovate, and how you can stand out. And the important thing to consider as part of this is how, through a clearly defined sales process, you can create that predictability. So for every 100 cold leads in your chosen target market, how you can convert those into 10 hot prospects with consistency. And if you can do it in such a way there isn't any pay-per-click, great. And we'll show you that later on, exactly how you can do that and get proven results with it as well. And also what you can put in place to increase your profits by attracting higher value clients who value what you do, and also what strategy you can put in place to leverage your time so you can get more billable work, and what you can do also to scale your business. Now, interesting enough, if you ask 100 people who are in business what they really want, a lot of people say they want to grow and scale their business, but actually through experience, we would say that for every 10 people who actually say that, we reckon probably only 4 actually mean it. Because deep down, we get very comfortable in our own little worlds. And the moment that we start to push the barriers on that, then typically we go out of our comfort zone. So our natural instinct is to drop back. So it's really about finding the right people you can put around you, who can help you, give you that growth and scale, and really go from there. And when running any campaigns, whatever platform you're using, also understand the snowball effect, for example. So now, obviously, one of our specialisms is around LinkedIn. Now, I could talk about that now, but let's just choose Facebook as a case in point, or Instagram. Okay. Now, Facebook and Instagram, they reward you for engagement. So if you happen to like posts and articles, and if you happen to comment and things like that, and what that does, that encourages people to stay on the platform. And because time and audience effectively is almost like a currency, it's attention, because you're effectively giving attention of your time on that platform. They actually, if you happen to advertise as well, they reward you for that, because in effect, they're rewarding engagement. However, engagement is just purely that. It doesn't mean to say people are going to buy from you. So it's even on other platforms, you might think, well, actually, that will lead to a quick purchasing decision. What it does do is it enables people to build a bit of a relationship of trust with you. So when they see an offer come along, they're much more likely to buy from you. But obviously, time has to be given. Time, again, is a currency. You have to give things time to compound out. So remember the snowball effect. Just remember that big snowball and the impact it can actually have on your business. It can take a lot of effort to get that snowball to move down the hill. But once it builds up momentum, it rapidly expands in size, and everything else that goes around it. And now let's look a little bit more at this part. So this is all about helping you to bring your sales forward, amplify your brand, and get your time back. Okay, everything we're talking about here is all to do with this. We've created a solution around this called BizGrowth Time Machine, which literally is your own ready-to-go solution in a box, which we will show you how you can automate your campaigns. But the big thing is you're in full control. So the analogy I'd give is you've got this nice BMW or Mercedes or Audi or whatever you drive. You got your radar control and your sat nav in there. So the car is almost on autopilot. But the big thing is you're actually still on the driver's seat. You still got full control. And that's really important to understand, because if you've got full control, you give people a really personal experience, but it's really amplify what you're doing. And also bear in mind, if you're looking at LinkedIn as a case in point, there's 650 million people on the platform. I'm sure you'd be very pleased to just have a tiny selection of those people. Then look at the return on investment. If you can put in place a strategy, so for every 100 people you reach out to, 10 become hot prospects, then clearly that's really good. And then if you can get some sort of email export function in there and also find out people's phone numbers in there as well, then that's a big benefit too, together with hyper-personalization and also increasing time efficiency and so on. That comes under this part here, which we've obviously been talking about. And here's a little bit of a graphic. We'll be showing you that a little bit later on, how that all works. And then around that, what you really need to do is have access to what we do is give you access to our Social Selling Blueprint web portal. We also help you with your markets and marketing mix and get that right, and help you to clarify what is your balanced product portfolio. And we'll also explain as well how the time machine should be a strategic part. It should be the center of everything you do. That's like your car with your radar control, your sat nav does the automatic braking for you, the acceleration. But at the end of the day, you're still in control, so you can stop and start things as much as you want to, and always be in control of the messaging that goes out. So just bear that in mind. Now, around the Social Selling Blueprint, so focusing on the lead generation part just for a moment, the important thing as well is to also understand if you've got a team of business development managers as well, or if it's just yourself running your business, we've got two graphs there. The one on the bar chart on the left, that's if you're having to do all the cold prospecting yourself, that means that 65% of the time you're actually reaching out to cold prospects. Now, if you're a sole person business, you'll very quickly burn yourself out. It's totally soul destroying. If you're expecting your business development managers to do that, they'll very, very quickly get pissed off, excuse the language, and they'll potentially leave. And bear in mind, a business development resource can take 6 months to actually train up to get to that particular case in point. And what you really want to do is to be putting things in place so that those business development managers are able to speak to people who are hot prospects who've already been heavily qualified. So therefore, they can close those opportunities down. As a consequence, they get better results. They go over their sales targets. The company goes over their sales targets, and everyone is happy. What you'll find as well is if you do it the other way around, you'll burn those business development managers out. They will go and leave because they won't be performing the way they would like them for themselves. And it's very, very frustrating. Now, if you're a larger company, what tends to typically happen is you may have your senior business development managers or even sales director, and you may then have your business development support reps, would be the American way of saying it, but they would be the ones that perhaps doing a little bit of pre-qualifying for you, okay? That's really important to understand, because that way you can really leverage your time again. But if you use the strategies we're sharing here, the good thing is you can warm people up to the point where they're actually asking to have those conversations. That's so important. They need to be asking to have those conversations. It just makes it so much easier. So if you just look at, again, looking at the lead generation part, if you look at ourselves, a case in point, a lot of you have joined us today from LinkedIn, maybe from Facebook as well, and from email. Now, 61% of our business comes from LinkedIn. And that, I don't mean business purely just in money there, but some of our best partnerships have been formed through there as well. So I think I mentioned Chris Cooper, Alex Reardon, and Karen Davies earlier on. I've met all those people through LinkedIn. They've become friends as well as strong advocates and supporters of what we're doing. And the nice thing is we can show you ways you can do that with very, very little cost as well. Email is great. We've got a large list of 58,000 people on our email list. Out of that 58,000, about 13,000 are engaged. And we know that because we measure everything, as you expect. And with these days, you have to be very careful with email, because if you get it wrong, you get regarded as being a spammer. And Microsoft and Google and Yahoo are really, really aggressive in their filtering now. In fact, so much so I'd actually say it's bordering on being an infringement of civil liberties for all sorts of reasons, which I won't go into today. I had a big debate on this a few weeks ago, because the analogy I'd give is that sometimes with legitimate email, it's being put in the bin, you know, just like a postman saying, okay, I'm not going to deliver that letter. I'm going to just put it, because it's junk mail, I'll go and put it in the dustbin down the road. And that's what a lot of these providers are doing there for you without you actually consenting to it. And interestingly enough, a quick rant, and I'm going to go back to normal again. If it was a state doing it, if it's the US government or the UK government doing that, you'll probably find there'd be some form of uprising. But for some reason, by some of these big entities, they feel it's their right to actually filter out mail, which is perfectly legitimate, to your inbox. And that's the end of my rant, okay? But the reason I'm saying that is the fact that you just need to watch your sender reputation a lot. And obviously, you could argue that's a good thing, because you only want to have relevant mail in your inbox. But at the end of the day, it can be a real issue, because it may be you have appointments coming from your GP, things may not be set up in the right way. It goes into your spam folder or promotions folder instead, and yet you want that delivered to your inbox. So someone else is deciding whether it should be in there for you or not. Okay, so email's good. It complements other strategies, but I wouldn't say it should be the only part. Facebook, Instagram can work very well. Now, obviously, we are serving mainly other businesses, so LinkedIn you would expect to work well for us. Facebook and Instagram at the moment only accounts for 5% of what we do. We are going to be increasing exposure on those platforms, because they do work extremely well. And referrals, we get a lot of referrals, but it still only accounts for about 9% of what we do. And that's because we're very proactive in our outreach. So it's just useful bearing that in mind. And we'll go into a little bit more detail about this a bit later on, because we're having an advanced strategy on LinkedIn. But start thinking about who are your ideal clients and how you can find them, okay? And think about your ideal avatars, and that's clearly very important. And also look at how you can bring in leads, you know, whether you look at Google, Facebook, Instagram, pay-per-click, and also where LinkedIn fits in for you in terms of that process. And we've already talked a little bit about, you know, the way of being able to do things for free. You can reach out through pay-per-click as well. It doesn't mean to say you shouldn't do it, but what I would just say is there are ways of doing this without having to spend thousands or tens of thousands of pounds or more on pay-per-click type advertising. There are ways you can do it without spending your hard-earned cash, but getting very, very highly targeted results. And a lot of that's using my son sales, LinkedIn Sales Navigator, by using using approved methodologies we'll share with you a bit later on. If you get it wrong, it can be really expensive. So, for example, when 15 years ago, when you were reaching out on these platforms, you'd be able to get away with being able to cut a lot of corners on this stuff. Nowadays, for example, if you do a Google pay-per-click campaign, every page on your website is page ranked, and these days, if you do pay-per-click, your adverts on Google or YouTube, wherever it may be, need to be highly optimized to the landing page that they're going to. So you can't get away usually with just having one landing page. You might have to have 10 or 15 landing pages to be able to tie in really well with those key phrases or those key words. And why is that important? You bought a cup of tea, which is very nice. Thank you, Eddie. Why is that important? Well, the reason it's so important is that what you'll find is you actually get penalized if, for example, your page load times are too slow. If the copy on your landing page doesn't correspond fairly closely with the key phrase you've used in Google, and so on. And also bear in mind, when someone goes to your website, unless you use retargeting, which you need to do something about, which again we can share with you knowledge and information around that. You once they've gone to your website, if they don't opt into something, they've gone away again, and you don't know who they are. Okay, so you can literally be pouring money, down the toilet, as it were. So it's worth making sure strategies around this are really strong, and it's very important you've got a strong prospect nurturing process. So with this here, what we mean by that is you should be able to consistently, for every 100 people you reach out to, generate 10 hot prospects. Now, what we'd recommend is a 5 to 7 message process. Now, if you were to do this manually, which you can do it manually using Excel sheets and so on, and keeping track of it that way, you could be spending, and I'm not joking here, if you're running at maximum safe rate on LinkedIn, you could be spending easily 3 to 5 hours a day doing it. And you very quickly lose the will to live, because after you've been running it for a few weeks, you suddenly think, hang on, wait a minute, I've done another data build here, I've got another list here. But I remember them because we communicated with something about else before. And a real issue is getting putting duplicates in as part of the campaign, so people get in an inappropriate message. Bear in mind, you've already reached them out to them about something else. So if, for example, you do several different searches, you'll tend to find between 10 and 30% of those people will be people you've actually communicated with before. So the big challenge you've got is basically being able to dedupe them as part of being able to do things as part of a manual process. So it's not just a time-saving thing, but it's about how you can simplify this whole process as well. Now, we touched on Time Machine a bit earlier on. I won't go into more detail about that now. But if you adopt this 7-message process here, which I'll be going into a lot more detail through the advanced strategy in the second half of this session today, then you'll be able to create a continual lead flow of new opportunities actually coming through. And then we're going to actually move to the sales optimization part here. Now, with this here, this goes back to understanding what a customer is really worth to you. But let's imagine you were running a 12-month campaign, and let's say your average value of sale for over 1 year was £10,000 or dollars. Okay, it doesn't matter. So it may be that £10,000, those sales might be broken up several transactions. So it may be a £500 to start with, then a couple of thousand, then say £7,500. So let's say it's 10K over 12 months. And then the same client over 3 years generated you 25K's worth of revenue in total over 3 years. And the same people over 5 years, perhaps generating £35,000 or dollars. Okay, now that would be typical for a SaaS type company, a software as a service type company, or be typical for a firm of accountants where you may have got recurring revenue streams. Okay, now if you looked at that, the value of one client, a value of 36 clients, I get this right. So 3 sales per month, that's 36 sales per year. Those 36 sales per year in the first year would generate you £360,000 worth of revenue or dollars. Over 3 years, the same clients, as part of a 12-month campaign, would generate you £900,000 of dollars. And over 5 years, it's 1.26 million. Now, those numbers aren't made up. If you were to get a calculator out and work it out, the numbers I can assure you are accurate. We're looking at this a little bit more a bit later on. But you get your optimization part right, then that stands you in really good stead. And this is actually where a lot of money is lost. A lot of money is lost because people give up. Usually, if you've got someone in a sales role, they'll give up after the second attempt, possibly third, almost certainly by the third attempt, they've given up. Now, invariably, what you'll find is that people will actually buy from you when it's convenient to them, not when it's convenient to you. And we had a client come on board just a few months ago, a very good client, and he came on board. I've been speaking with him for about 5 years. Now, at the time, we weren't right for him. And indeed, he was in a different field. And the converse was true as well. But as our time went on, our paths kept on crossing. And he then became a client. So sometimes people come on board within a matter of days or weeks. More typically, it might take 2, 3, 6, 9 months before they become a client. So just understand that. People very often give up on that stage. And it's important that you don't do so. Now, the other thing is, those of you who very kindly completed sales and marketing diagnostic, we're very grateful for you on that. And obviously, if you've already had a conversation with you, can explain with you how those numbers tie in. If you haven't, then do so. But we would urge you to do something very similar to ourselves on this, because one of the challenges you have is when people engage with you, or the other way around, you don't necessarily know that person's readiness to actually buy or what they're putting in place. First of all, it's a really good thing to do is if you can share lots of value back. So you give people a reason for wanting to complete something. And then because you're then giving them their their summarized stats back in a meaningful form, then of course people will really love that. But it's also from your point of view, if you're the company offering your services, you're able to also pre-qualify people and make sure there's a good fit as well. So you're very, very much encouraged to complete one of these if you haven't done so already with us. And you also get an 8-page report as part of this on an automated basis. It's all personalized as well. But consider what you could do for yourself. That's really got the sales optimization piece. And around that, around our workshops, we can help you to put in a prospect qualification and diagnostic part of the process on there. We'll also share how to share value and put what test drive tools to put in place. And we'll show you how to put in strategies around qualified presentation techniques and sales qualifying and closing techniques as far as the sale is concerned. And that's where a lot of money is left on the table. In fact, a lot of money is being left on the table, those 3 cogs, because people don't generate enough leads for their business typically. Their prospect nurturing process is very weak, so they give up. And then when those people then start to ask for conversations, then they're not followed through. And I was having a conversation with someone earlier on this morning, and when we had a look at it with them, we looked at it, we realized they'd missed over 25 opportunities for business over the last few months, simply because they got oversubscribed and they didn't know what to do next. So we'd urge you really to have a look at that. And then the next part really is around the client relationship enhancement system. And wouldn't you like to be in a position like this? Now, this picture was actually taken in February last year, before lockdown. And down this street in London, there was about 5 coffee shops, and they were all virtually empty. I think it might have had 1 or 2 people in them. And look at this one here, it's oversubscribed. What would happen, do you think, if you compromise on the quality, they compromise on the quality of their product? What else has happened here? Because they've got a really good reputation, it's a real experience, people are queuing up for half an hour, 45 minutes, just to get in and actually be part of that experience. How could you make customers feel really looked after and franchised with what you're doing? And that's so important to understand. And if we take this as a key point, lovely, I was going to say couple here, I mean business couple here, nothing more but that, by the way. Anthony Corello and Don Boyle, they're 2 co-founders of a business called EPML it's called Beckenham in Kent. And they run a facilities management company. It's going through a big growth curve. Obviously, they were impacted by COVID like everyone else. But they've actually been able to evolve their business, and they're going from strength to strength. We've been working with them for some time. They're much valued clients. They're plugged into our full marketing service, but also we worked with them at a personal level as well. It's been very, very satisfying and rewarding. And remember as well, if you can start to create a tribe, so your clients effectively become almost like a tribe where you make them all feel good about the relationship, what you'll find is they'll want to refer other people in as well. And it makes business just fun and enjoyable as well. So the trick really is being to deliver surprise and delight and create raving fans. You need to have some really good upsell products and cross-sell products. A member offers are really important. Also a very good referral system. And through a previous venture, which Muriel will remember well, we actually managed through a completely different type of business, but create an army of 3,000 active introducers and also 6 major partnerships, because we recognize this whole loyalty referral factor. So just bear in mind the importance of that, but you have to think about it all strategically, like everything else we've discussed now. So what have we covered so far? We're actually more or less on time, actually. So in about 20 minutes or so, we should be having a 15, 20 minutes, having a break. We've covered this already. So it really is about bringing your sales forward, amplifying your brand, and getting your time back. And we want to be with you as acting as the engine for growth. In fact, there we go, 15 minutes. That's my estimated time. So we should be breaking about 3:30. And I'll give you a little bit of a taster on LinkedIn. We'll be discussing in more detail in the second half. On LinkedIn, there's 675 million people on the platform. It is the #1 business professional social network. And the average person on LinkedIn earns way above the average national wage. Okay. It can also work very well in the business to charity space. And it also can work well in the business to consumer space. You have to be a bit more careful on the business consumer space, because obviously Facebook and Instagram and others have got the advantage there because they're very psychographic based, whereas LinkedIn is more demographic based, as it were, and obviously appealing to a different type of customer. But for example, if you're in the business to consumer space, then it may be you're wanting to reach out to people who are more wholesalers or resellers or partners who would give you that distribution. Whereas you're in the business space, you could be looking out for all of those that I've just mentioned. Plus, of course, they themselves could be great customers. Now, bear in mind as well. So, for example, we worked with a lovely client a while back who specialised in Arabian tents. An average 4-day hire of a tent was £10,000 because they were like double lined, they were carpeted, they had Oriental furniture in there. It's a whole experience. Now, with those, they were used for like 25th wedding anniversary or 50th wedding anniversary parties, for wrap parties after film productions. In fact, I suddenly realised that something we've been to sort of 10 years earlier, it was the same company that provided something then. And that worked very well as a consumer product, but actually worked really well in the B2B space as well, because lots of events and hospitality venues use them, and also people getting married, and so on, would use them as well. So just bear that in mind. Think out of the box. You'll be really surprised. So look at how you can increase your sales. We're going to be looking at how you can define and own your market, present yourself as the expert, how to use the social selling blueprint, explaining a lot more about the numbers, how that all ties together. And it's about creating a repeatable, predictable system which should give you consistent sales month in, month out. We're going to be coming to the Q&A in just a moment as well, and we're having the break. But Muriel, just a quick reminder for you, if you could make sure you've got the link handy, which I referred to earlier on.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, lovely. All right. And then after that is, so you can basically put yourself in control of the entire sales and process, and also the prices you command, and you can generate clients of demand with predictability if you do things the right way, and crucially, you can get people to the point where they're asking for those conversations. So I'm going to give you a very quick demo of Time Machine as well, which will take me about 5 or 6 minutes. But so you get a little bit of a sense of where this hangs together. With this, if you're going to use LinkedIn, we'd suggest you use Sales Navigator. You can use LinkedIn Premium, but Sales Navigator is much more powerful. It's about making sure your LinkedIn profile is well optimized. I'll explain a lot more a bit later. And it's about having a really good prospect nurturing process, and so your business development managers can actually close the business down. And so let's give you a quick demo now. So just bear me a second, because I've just got to. And Muriel, if you could just be on the lookout in the chat in case I'm missing anything as well, that's all right. So I'll share my screen in just a moment when I've got in there as well. A moment. Right. So, okay, now I'm going to do this hopefully without disconnecting anyone. And I've also going to have to expand the screen, so I won't be able to see the slides for a moment. Okay, so bear me a second. Now, I've got to do a bit of jiggery-pokery here, so just bear me a moment. So if I go back to sharing my screen again, to stream, I've done that wrong. Bear me a minute. What am I doing wrong here? I need to, why can't I see? Let me move that from here. Right, not doing very well over this, am I? So let's try again. Try and move that. So I've got to stop the screen share for a moment. I'm talking to myself here. Try again. There we go. It's not having it. Right, share screen. I think I'm going in the right direction now. Okay, so Chrome tab. Right, there we go. I've got to the right place now, so I should be able to share my screen. Okay. Right, so you can see it now. Now, this is the dashboard for BizGrowth Time Machine. Okay. Now, again, I'm going to skim over it because normally I spend about 15, 20 minutes with this. I need to do this about 6 or 7 minutes. But here are all the stats, actually. I've gone into Muriel's account here. Muriel's given me permission to beforehand. As long as I can't see what I'm doing. Muriel, you can still see everything, okay, can't you, on your side?
Yeah, we can still hear and see.
You can see what's going on the screen at the moment, my cursor going across, can't
you?
Yeah, good. Okay, right. Okay, so these are the stats of everything that's been going on Mural's account over the last week or so. And on the right-hand side, you can see like a dashboard with all the numbers here. So over the last week, 184 connection requests have gone out in Mural's account. And over a month, it's 697. And since this campaign's been going, we've reached out to 5,663 people. Okay. In addition to that, we've, believe it or not, now look at these numbers here. We've reached out to 18,000 plus the 6,800 plus the 1,300 people. We've reached out to about, out of that number there, it's total about 26,000 messages, give or take, have been handled by the system over since it's been running this campaign, which is the middle part of last year. And in fact, we're running two separate campaigns simultaneously here. This goes to show you the power of what's being done. And if I was to go into a current campaign we're running of Murals right now, and we were to scroll down, okay, these are the different messages which are being handled as we speak. And so you can see the 618 people in this campaign. And if I was to filter it by all those which need some form of personal attention, I can narrow it down. Those are the ones which need a personal reply. So if you have a look at Justin over here, Justin van der Ven, they want more information. So we could send a personal message through there, or we can drop them into the campaign. If you look at Patrick here, is another one. The person saying thanks for what we shared. And here is another one. So they give us the thumbs up. Okay. Now, what you can do here is you can either just type your message directly in here, which I won't do for obvious reasons, or I can choose like a templated reply. So you've got different templated replies here. Drop the message in there, hit the send button, and that will actually then send it out through LinkedIn. So what you may find is each day that you run a campaign, you might have 5 or 6 people where they need a personal reply, which are really hot leads. You might find another 4 or 5 where they've sort of saying no, thank you, or that it's not a fit. In which case, you can either just drop them back in the campaign by hitting that play button there, or you can remove them from the campaign altogether. Okay. So, and each one of these dots, I'll just switch the filter off for a second, represents a message. So this is a 7-message process we've got here. That person's had 1 message so far and replied. That's had 2. That's had 2. If you go a bit further down, I'm trying to find where they've got a bit. I think this has been running not so long, this one. If you go a bit further down here, you'll find this person's had 4 messages so far. And that's all being handled automatically by the system. And the actual messages are stored in this part here. And you can set different timers according to how long you want to wait before someone's replied to. Also, now this is a little bit of an extra cost, not much more, but it's a little bit of an extra cost. You can also do hyper-personalized images. So if you have a look at this one here, this has got a picture here of someone's LinkedIn profile, and also it's got what appears to be a personal message on the whiteboard, okay? And that's actually merging an image together with a text. So you can do some really quite creative, imaginative things through this, and this is managed through the system as well. And you could also, this is like, I've got to be careful. It's okay, I click there, I believe. Yeah. This then shows you the, this is like the accelerator pedal in your car. If you're really short of leads, you may want to push that to 40 or 50 messages a day. If you're getting a little bit overwhelmed, you can slow that down. So take your foot off the accelerator and slow it down. And this is set quite high because the reason being the system will only ever send out messages to people it needs to receive. So we have to give it plenty of room to handle that. So some days it might only need to send out 15 or 20 messages as part of the follow-up. Other days it might need to send out a lot more. So we're trusting the system to handle that correctly. This shows you the different stats handled on the campaign. So you've got the different bar charts there. The other thing which is really useful about this is if I could show you how you could apply a campaign, things like that now. I won't do that because of lack of time. But I would just like to show you something else quickly on this. So if I go back to the people part here, and let's just choose this new contact. I'm calling people at random, so I'm not sure what's on their profile here. If you have a look here on the right-hand side, it's found their email address and also their phone number. Okay. Now, subject to GDPR compliance, then of course what you can do is export the file as a CSV file,
and that will then give you the person's first name, last name, company name, LinkedIn URL, if their permissions are set appropriately, their email address and their phone number. Now that can be very useful, again, subject to compliance, about running other email type campaigns. Okay. Now, if you're communicating on a business to business level, my understanding the regulation is much lighter touch than if you are trying to communicate with individuals in their private capacity. Okay. So, but happily discuss that with people offline if that is helpful. So that's a very quick demo of that. Now I'm just going to try and come back again. So it'll be in a second. And if I spare me a minute and stop this. Right, this bit I'm not quite used to, still trying to learn my way around. So just bear me a second. And then, okay, right. So we're back to where we started. So here we are. We're back to here again. So I always breathe a slight sigh of relief at that point because I made a screw up, which I don't think I have done too bad. So we've covered that a little bit, how Time Machine actually fits together. Now, as part of the second session, there will be a bonus session around how to use LinkedIn advanced techniques to find our value clients. And it'll also be a lot more interactive this next session. Okay. Now, when we come back to the next session, what you'd like to do, if you've not completed the diagnostic already, by all means, give that a go. Muriel, if you could also put the link in for the diagnostics in the chat as well, that'd be really appreciated. And we won't try and cover this per se as part of the session today because we don't have time. But if you complete that, you also got the option of booking a call as well. So do feel you're free to do that. It takes 4.5 to 6.5 minutes to complete, and you'll get an 8-page report come back to you on it as well. So the link for that is businessgrowthbureau.tv/diagnostic. Also, if you want to book a call in with myself or Muriel, it's a slightly different URL, so be a little bit careful. So it's businessgrowthbureau.me/R for Romeo, M for Mother, A for Apple, 15. Okay, so for the diagnostic, choose that link. For the Canada links, if you could use that. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to have a break for 15 minutes. In fact, I can't believe it ran exactly to time. Break 15 minutes. We'll reconvene at 3:45. I'm going to leave the Facebook stream and YouTube stream still open. Okay, so you'll still see a slide on the screen. And what we'll also do as part of the second session is, for those of you who've got some really good questions, you're very welcome to also join us as part of the live stream itself. And Muriel will have a link handy for you as well, where we can share that with you as part of the invitation. We'll just quickly have a look and just make sure I've not missed any particular points that people would like me to cover off. It's interesting because Eleni is mentioning here, interestingly enough, on that note, in my experience, clients usually drop out when they come too close to a painful experience they need to resolve in order to further their personal development and growth. It can be very frustrating. Yes, that can be appreciating. Can be very frustrating, Eleni, because sometimes people don't always like to hear the truth as well, unfortunately. But nevertheless, clearly you're doing a lot of good work, so keep on doing what you're doing. And thanks very much, Neslin, for your very kind comments there as well. It's always appreciated. And thanks for your other points. And Jonathan, I'm delighted that you've talked about CSR activity. Now, we had a really interesting conversation prior today about that one as well. So, okay, so do keep the interaction coming. We'll see you back here at 3:45 on the dot. That's 3:45 British summertime, that is, by the way. 3:45 on the dot. In the meantime, get yourself a cup of tea, make yourself comfortable, and if you've got time, complete the diagnostic as well if you've not done so. We'll see you, Muriel and I will see you back here at 3:45.
I think, Rupert, you were going to put that music on?
Oh, yes, I'll put that on now, actually. That's a little bit of a fun video. I'm going to try and load it up for you. So if you see me fumble around, you know what I'm doing. Okay, see you in just a moment. Thank you.
Well, I don't know whether you guys enjoyed that clip. I thought it was very good. We'll come back to that in just a second. I'll see if I can find another bit of video footage. Just a little bit of a break for a few minutes. So I'll see you back here in just a second. Hello, good afternoon, everyone again. And we don't officially restart for another 3 minutes. I've got a horrible feeling the audio didn't come out on the last video clip, so I apologize about that. I think it's a rather unusual Chrome setting, which I need to use, but at least know for next time. Anyway, we'll be getting started in about 3 minutes. I'm just going to just get myself ready. So if you see me in the background doing a few things, you know what I'm doing. I'll be back online at 3:45, which is about 3 minutes time. Okay, cheers. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. We'll give everyone about another 30 seconds to rejoin. So actually, if you could just let us know in the chat, I think the audio you might have heard for the video clip, which I showed the Disney clips. I'd be interested to know whether you could hear audio okay, and also any thoughts you got on that, because I don't know about you, I was absolutely amazed by the way the content was actually repurposed multiple times. And I thought it was just perhaps one or two films, but you could see by the sheer number of them there, it's obviously a key part of what Disney does, because the amount of editing required and the costs in terms of bringing these productions together is just absolutely phenomenal. So just let us know in the chat whether you enjoyed that, whether you saw it as well, because you might have, of course, gone for a break at that particular point, and also if the audio actually works. And I've got a horrible feeling the two video clips I played after that, the audio didn't work. So that's it. Just let me know either way, that'd be good. Anyway, I think what we'll do is we will get started now, because it is now 2:45. So hopefully everyone is joining us as we speak. And Miriam, perhaps you let me know on your side. Could you hear any audio on your side? Or was it?
Yeah, I thought the Disney clips, you could hear the audio, and I thought they were fantastic. Love to know where you got those from, actually. But on the ship, no, unfortunately, it wasn't working, the audio.
No, okay. I think there's a setting in Chrome which you have to enable when you're trying to screen share a video clip, but I know that now, so we won't do it next time round. Okay, so it's really interesting, isn't it, about the Jungle Book, Alenia, and also Winnie the Pooh as well. So, but it really makes this point about repurposing again. If you've got multi-billion-pound corporations who are repurposing content, then at the end of the day, we as small business owners, we need to also be very smart in the way we're creating content. So I think without further ado, let's carry on and go for a little bit from there. So in terms of, this is very much a little bit of a bonus session, a round table session. So if you've got some questions, do drop them in the chat. And if you'd like to volunteer to come up into the green room and then be part of the live stream this afternoon, do feel free to do so. And what we're going to be discussing now, just while you're all giving yourself some thought to think of some questions to actually ask, is I'm going to actually be covering off some advanced techniques and how you can win high-value clients on LinkedIn and how you can build up a strong lead flow of new opportunities coming through. So the first thing is to actually start by defining and owning your market. Avoid being a generalist. It's very easy as when you are one of many, as it were, to really stand out and be micro niche where you can and have a suite of products and services to suit different price points. And what we've done, just to go back over your clients that you've served over the years and look at industry sectors. So, for example, if we look at financial services and insurance, you can see companies who serve there in business services, legal and accounting, coaching and training, tech and software, charity, events, hospitality, and so on. These are just a selection that people work for. But what you would notice, we've broken them down to industry sectors. Now, even this isn't narrowing down enough. You need to, for example, financial services is massive. So you probably need to segment that down and segment it again. And I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. And the very easy way of doing that is, first of all, to start off by industry sector. There are 147 industry sectors on LinkedIn, and it's pretty easy to actually narrow these down to areas that you're particularly wanting. It is about defining and owning your market. And sorry, I've got a slight problem seeing what's on the screen. And also look at how you can put in place segmentation. Now, out of these 147 industry sectors, about 110 of them are pretty good. The other 27 or so are not so good. The reason being is, for example, if you took the judiciary as a case in point, judges of law courts, for example, clearly not particularly want to be seen on LinkedIn. Equally, it might be the armed forces. There might be some sensitivities around there. But there are other sectors which work very, very well, and that's a vast majority of them. Okay. Then the other thing is look at how you can present yourselves as the expert and not to hide. So make sure your profile on LinkedIn is very highly optimized. And it's not the way that LinkedIn want you to do it, by the way. LinkedIn want you to make your profile look like a glorified CV. We suggest a completely different approach, because unless you're looking for a job, you should optimize it so that people actually get your proposition and therefore want to engage with you. And we reckon, I'm looking at over 2,000 profiles, probably coming up to 3,000 profiles now. Only 8% of profiles are well optimized, but 17% are semi-optimized. So 3/4 their profiles on LinkedIn are not properly optimized to get results. And where this is particularly important is where you want to actually run your own campaigns so people can get to know your proposition. And this is a type of structure we recommend. So it's very much about presenting you as being the expert in your space, and also people getting across your core proposition, tying into 3 or 4 key pain points of what many of your clients face, because people unfortunately do buy on pain as well. Also tying with 5 or 6 key benefits or problems you solve. Again, there's a bulletized list. Put some sort of sales hook or diagnostic in there. It might be a link to a video. It could be a free call that you offer. Something where you can share genuine value or a PDF download. And then we also suggest repeating your contact details, because although you can put your information on your profile, and that's clearly you should do that, the other side of it as well is if someone is not connected to you and they want to reach out to you, LinkedIn by default don't make that information available to you. And also if people change their privacy settings by mistake or deliberately, whichever way it is, then it's much more difficult to reach out to you. So we suggest repeating your contact details under the About section here. Okay, and that's about having a well-optimized LinkedIn profile. You can't underestimate the importance of the building a relationship of trust. So it's about presenting yourself as the expert, not hiding. This is so important. A lot of people make the big mistake of trying to sell overtly on LinkedIn before you've actually developed the relationship. And that's the wrong way around. You need to develop the relationship first,
get people warmed up so they want to engage with you and have those meaningful conversations. Obviously, recommendations count for a lot, as you'd expect, and obviously you could share value through PDFs, videos, and everything else that goes with it. And it's also about following what we class as social selling blueprint, which is around lead generation, prospect nurturing, and sales optimization, and which we've already just covered. And then let's look at, say, your potential ideal clients. Let's say we're trying to reach a Jane or a Bob, and let's say they're in the sector of computer software, and let's say we're trying to reach people at director, CXO, partner, owner level of a company, and also all businesses within a 100-mile radius of, say, central London or New York or San Francisco, wherever you happen to be located. And also, let's say you want to reach out people who aren't in your immediate network, and you also want to search by the key phrase of business analyst. Okay, so let's simulate that as best as we can. And this is an example of what a Sales Navigator screen looks like. So in this case, we put in the country and the postcode. In there as well, it's not shown on the screen. You can also set the distance as well from that postcode. And we recommend doing that rather than choosing a location so much, because postcode is surprisingly accurate. But also, if we took, say, Kingston as a case in point, which is it's a London borough of Kingston, people may put their address in as Kingston, or they may put in London. So if you put it in by a name of a town, you can miss a lot of people. It's actually better to base it on postcode or by distance, and you'll get better results. Then level of seniority you can put over here. And in this case, you can't see very well on the screen, but it's 1.58 million records have been returned. And then what you need to then do is to narrow it down still further. So you might then search by a relationship with a second or third level connection, by headcount, which the number of employees have got, and also by key phrase. And that might narrow it down to say about 3,000 people. Okay. Now, the other thing you can do in LinkedIn as well, which has been made surprisingly difficult, this part. Okay, by the way, I think it's since Microsoft have got their hands on LinkedIn, they found a more complicated way of doing things, and that's part of the feature set, let's put it that way. But it is also possible now to filter companies by turnover. Okay, now going back to what I was saying earlier on, that 95% of businesses employ less than 10 people in the UK. It may be that a large proportion of that 95% are not in your target market. If you can filter by turnover, you get much more accurate results. Okay, and now it's still never going to be 100% accurate, because in the UK, I don't know if it's similar in the US or not, companies which are turning over less than £7.5–8 million a year are below the auditing threshold, and therefore that information isn't publicly available. It's only available if a company has volunteered as to what their turnover actually is. I think LinkedIn probably have tapped into some credit reference data as well to be able to get their analytics, but it does really help. But it's quite advanced, the techniques to be able to do that. But we've noticed a dramatic improvement in the quality of the new opportunities coming through, but actually being able to filter by turnover as well. Okay, the other thing is it's really important to have a good prospect nurturing process. So this is a 5-message process. You may connect with people to start with. You may then want to thank them for accepting the connection request and share something of value. Notice no emphasis on sales there whatsoever. You may then want to send out a message 7 days later where you ask a qualifying question. Okay, and then about another 7 days after that, if they've still not engaged with you, then actually send out what we class as a qualifying pitch message, which in case you're being a bit more direct in there, and people can get to the nub of your proposition very quickly. And then you may offer to share a thought leadership piece of something a bit more detailed, okay, and then have probably a clearer call for action. So that's a good strategy. And then about a week later, if they're still not engaged, then ask another question. Okay, now that's optimized for a 5-message process. We tend to these days use a 7-message process. Okay. However, the emphasis is on the fact, ideally, the moment someone starts to engage, you want to, and this applies whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever it is. Okay, you want to get them off that platform as quickly as you can, because at the end of the day, we all interact with people who we know, like, respect, and trust, and you can't beat human-to-human connection and engagement. don't believe all the hype that exists around automated funnels and everything else. Now, don't get me wrong, that can work, especially if you've got a highly commoditized service and it's a low value product. Okay. You can spend a lot of money and do that, and you can just about make the numbers work. But the trouble is, because everyone else is doing it, you're competing with the crowd. We suggest generally, where possible, you get people off the platform, have a meaningful conversation, maybe just a short discovery call to start with, and then find out what the person really needs. Then you may invite them to complete their diagnostic, or you might invite them to a webinar. Whatever your sales process is, that might lead to a longer strategy call. And then from that, they may lead to either a physical or virtual meeting of some kind, and then close those opportunities down. So think very strategically about that. Don't go for a lot of the hype that exists actually out there. It's also much easier to fish. So clearly, if you're having to hunt for people, believe me, down, if you do direct forms of sales using the good old telephone, it does still work, but it's a painful process. A lot of people really burn out. So it's much better to reach out, try and strike engagement online, and then have a direct conversation with someone. It works a lot better, and it's more scalable as well. And so let's look at some of the numbers again. Now, a bit earlier on, we talked about this scenario. Now, just choose roughly where the turnover of your business is. And obviously, if you're turning over more than £5 million, then you can scale it up to your own numbers. But let's say you were turning over £250,000 a year at the moment and wanted to grow that to 400,000 a year. If in order to get to that level, you knew you need to take certain points of action to get you there, but you delayed it, let's say, and you delayed making that decision. Basically, what that means is that every month of delay is actually costing you £12,500 or dollars. And it's just, this is not a fiction. Get a calculator out, work the difference between the 400K and the 250K, divided by 12, and that's your lost opportunity cost. So what you'll find is a lot of people think, okay, I'll start things off in 3 months' time or 6 months' time. Look how much money it's actually costing. And remember, if everything stays the same, nothing changed, everything stayed the same. But in fact, that's actually not true. You're actually going backwards because the world has continued to advance. Okay. Now let's take another scenario here. The same set of figures, £250,000. You want to grow it to £400,000. That's every month the delay is costing £12,500. Okay. Let's say you're in a space where you really have got sort of panicked or spooked by what's been going on out there, and you decide to go inwards, okay, and not invest in your business. And let's say your turnover dropped by 35%, okay, which it would be really, really conservative in light of what's actually been going on, okay. The lost opportunity cost is not £12,500 per month. It's £19,375 per month. Obviously, if you're turning over more than that, the difference is going to be even greater still. Now, tragically, if you carry on down that path, unfortunately, a lot of businesses will go bust in that time. So I would urge you to think the other way around, look outwards and put in place strategies to grow your business. When even in the depth of COVID, we were still looking outwards. We're still engaging with our clients, still engaging with our prospects. We started the live stream, so it's a massive investment of time. We ran over 52 episodes of that now, so it's over a year's worth of content. We do that because we love sharing value, but also keeps on building that relationship with those people, which creates opportunities moving forwards. So look at what you can have in place by having a well-oiled sales machine. So I showed you this slide a bit earlier on. This part we suggest you keep control of. We can give you guidance on how that looks like. And we can also give you strategies to reach out to those ideal types of leads. And if you target the right people, you get really high quality data coming in. Not surprisingly, you get really good results coming out. This part in the middle is a part that's really, really time consuming. And if you try and do this yourself, you'll very quickly lose the will to live. By all means, try it. You can use Excel sheets. I've shared a lot of strategies today. Give it a go. If you use this, it does all the heavy lifting for you. And then obviously your business development resource will be the ones which will be really good at closing those opportunities down. So if you have that type of structure, you're really boding well for your business. Now, a couple of little other case studies there to give it more feel. Lorna Leonard, lovely lady, but a real introvert, really introvert. And she's a financial accountant or a financial director or interim financial director. She managed to pick up a 30K contract in the first 10 days working with us. Now, I wouldn't say it's normally quite that quick, but it just happened we reached someone, or she reached someone at exactly the right time for her as part of this campaign. Nick Aldridge. Now, this is not to do with the lead generation efforts so much, but PayPal Giving trusted us with their data. We were asked to do a lot of data cleansing and data enrichment with their charity database, and we did a lot of extensive search over the Charities Commission website, Companies House, a lot of Google search, and so on. Enriched that data for them, gave them back to us again. And Nick Aldridge is someone I've got massive respect for. He covers the UK, parts of the US, and also Australasia as well. Susanna Schofield, OBE, for such a great, lovely lady. We've done a lot of work with her. Jubilee Sailing Trust. This is a charity which we've done a lot of work with. They actually raised £270,000 worth of sponsorship in private charters through a LinkedIn campaign that we ran with them for about 18 months. So that's phenomenally successful. And in times of massive market disruption, which, to be frank, is not going to quieten anytime soon, because we're going through a phase over the next 12 months where the market will return. I think we'll be quite surprised how quickly it will return. Obviously, there's going to be sectors like the aviation industry and tourism, etc., which are going to be impacted for a bit longer. But look at what is the new market. Have business growth in mind. Look at how you can build tribes. What can you put in place about having a well-oiled sales machine? And look at what can break you as well as what can scale and make you. And look also how you can do something once and use technology to dramatically increase your reach and sales-based opportunities. Mira, before I carry on a little bit more, if there's some points or questions which are coming up in the chat. Sorry, I'm just...
no, Neslin has said she'd like to come on in the green room. So Neslin thinks some great questions for us, or for Rupert.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, good. Well, should we keep that as a surprise? We can ask Lesley to share a little bit of a story in just a moment, and also come to the green room. So, Muriel, if you could share the link with Lesley now, that'd be lovely. And I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, by the way.
Okay, we'll do.
When you do join us, by the way, can you make sure, by all means, leave a tab open with Facebook or YouTube still running, but can you make sure you mute the sound on your video stream in Facebook or YouTube? And we'll bring into the live stream that way. Otherwise, we get really bad echo. Okay, so if anyone else would like to join us on the live stream, by the way, just indicate so in chat. Mira will keep an eye on it, and we'll bring you in a moment or two. So I'll carry on in the meantime whilst that happens, and we'll go a little bit further into this. So we've covered that part. Now, clearly, I've covered a lot of ground today. Some of this you may have found a little bit overwhelming. But seriously, don't worry about things. We are here for you. We do really care, and we want to help bring you to another level. And yes, we've been operating online purely for the last 12 months, but we will be going back to running physical events, particularly more to a hybrid model as well. As soon as we can get into these venues, we will be starting to run these events. Of course, all social distancing will be respected. And it's important everyone feels very safe as taking part of this. And also, I mentioned a bit earlier on where our opportunities come from, and the same could be done for you. And it could be done at surprisingly low cost. And remember, I mentioned earlier on as well, if something is free, then you are the asset and the commodity. As far as these social network platforms are concerned, it's vital that you leverage yourself and rise above that noise. Don't try and be the same as everyone else. Try and be different and rise above that noise. Don't keep on looking in the rearview mirror at what everyone else is doing. Just to stand up, be different, and everything will come good. I promise you. And we've already covered about these 7 strategies for growth as part of today's part. And this is very much with a view to bringing sales forward, helping you to amplify your brand and get your time back. And what we would suggest that you may want to do is to do the diagnostic if you've not already done it. I know that one or two people have done it during the break, and we'll get back to you. And what we'll do, let's come back to this in just a second. I'm going to see whether, are we still waiting for this lady to join us, Muriel?
Yes, yeah. Neslin, I put the link in the chat. So if you just want to copy and paste that to join us, that'd be great.
Okay, lovely. All right. So what we'll do, I think I'm going to try and, if you've got some questions, just do ask them, okay, please, in the chat, and we'll make sure they're covered off. What we'll do is I'll carry on for a few more minutes, and then we'll come back again. So so in terms of, if you've not already done so, just make sure you've got all these parts covered, because that puts your business in the best possible light as far as that's concerned. And so we've already covered about the diagnostic, and that's how you get to it. We've already explained a bit more about the time machine, and this is how it all ties together. Basically, it puts you in full control in terms of your lead generation efforts, what you can put in place about your whole prospect nurturing process. Obviously, bear in mind there are 650 million people on LinkedIn, and you can get a really strong return on investment if you do things the right way. The email export function is amazingly powerful through this platform as well. And the use of hyper personalization can be very, very powerful. The big thing with it is about really being able to interrupt people's normal attention span, because we all get very busy. If you do something different, you really stand out, and it basically grabs people's attention. And obviously the big thing about increasing efficiency is really important to understand around all of this good stuff. So I think we've just had Neslin just join us. So Neslin, let's try and bring you in. Just give me a second, and let's make sure we can see you properly as well.
Hello, Dr. Neslin.
Nice to see you, by the way. Yeah, so welcome. Yeah, so Neslin, tell us a little bit about what you do. You're muted, by the way. Actually, it might be me. Can you unmute yourself? I'll just make sure we've done that too. Give me a second. Okay, I think it's muted on your side. Oh, here we are. Is that going to work? Yeah, yeah, you've accidentally muted yourself. It might be, bear me a second. Can you see a little microphone symbol there, Neslin? If you just click that, just give you a second to join us. Yeah, you're still muted at the moment. It can't hear you.
It's normally, Neslin, it's normally at the bottom of the screen. You'll see a little sort of microphone and a camera. Yep.
Right, gotcha. Excellent. No pressure.
Absolutely.
I must ask you, Neslin, I'm really envious of your book library. Are you a character out of Harry Potter by any chance?
Not at all. I am 72 years around the sun, or 72 years in the body. And I've had a very interesting life. So, you know, it's the focus of many careers.
Oh, wow. Okay. So,
as it were.
What are you into now? How do you pronounce your name? Sorry.
You've got it perfectly. It's Neslin.
Neslin. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes.
So, Neslin, tell us a little bit about what you do.
I am an executive coach. I'm the only executive coach who has written the award-winning The Beacon Leadership from Impossible to Possible, and the Fly High, Land Safely, the definitive book for executives on career transition. So I have been awarded 3 times by Her Majesty the Queen for my work. But it wasn't always like this. You know, way back in 1989, my line manager said to me, "I find you threatening because you're Black, you're a woman, and you're intelligent, and I'm going to block you." But that was my passport, because I then left the Joint Health Service and Education Service, and I went out and I created Beacon. And through Beacon, I created a leadership development program for the health service executive. And really, it's the foundation for the current NHS Leadership Academy.
Wow.
5 years ago, I scaled down my business because my husband became very ill. and I wanted to have the time to devote to him. And so I operate at the moment as a one person, as it were, and focus primarily on executive coaching. And recently won a contract through the Cabinet Office to coach 20 top leaders across the public sector. But
Wow.
so very fulfilled.
Yeah, God, amazing. 72 to do all that. Yeah, so I think it's fantastic with that. So congratulations. So you mentioned you've been recognised by the Queen 3 times. Does that mean you've got an MB or OBE or something like that?
I've got the MBE, CB, and the Queen's Medal.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. God, that's quite an honour. That's a real honour, isn't it? So congratulations. And you mentioned obviously do a lot. Do you do work much with the private sector as well, or is it?
I have done a small amount of work with the private sector, but most of my work is in the public sector. It is a sector that I know well. I entered the health service in 1969, and I served in education. I have done some service in the voluntary sector. So I have done some coaching in the private sector, primarily with people in banking, but the public sector is what I know.
No, okay, and that's fair enough. That's fair enough. What do you do when you get oversubscribed?
What do I do when I get oversubscribed? Put up my fees.
There's actually a lesson to be learned there, actually. In fact, this goes back to the point that we were saying earlier on, wasn't it? That it is about rising above the noise, being standing up, being different, and obviously making sure that you don't devalue yourself by charging too little for what you provide. So yeah, so that's a good one. And what's working well for you in terms of finding new clients? So is a lot of it through referrals and recommendations?
A lot of it is through referrals and recommendations, but I'm also I am on this call because I recognize that there may come a time when that dries up. I want to have a steady flow. I am not looking to scale up and grow business, as it were, because, as I said, I've scaled down. I love working. I have a passion for what I do. I want to continue to do that, and I'd like a steady flow. So one of the first things that I will do with you is to repurpose my LinkedIn profile, just to look at it again. So
nice. Yeah. So I'm just wondering whether we can bring that up on screen now. So let me just see where I can, because your name is slightly unusual, isn't it? So in theory, Muriel, would you just do me a favor in background, just find...
yeah, sure, I will do. Nestle, while I'm doing that, I believe you're a doctor. What are you a doctor in?
It's PhD, really. So it's not a medic. It's not an MD. So it's health promotion. So I have a number of years in the health service, and I have lived as a nurse, midwife, health visitor, health promotion officer, and executive developer in nurse education.
Wow. Oh, that's really good, isn't it? That's fantastic. Yeah. So,
Rupert, I put it in chat for you.
Oh, lovely. Thank you very much. Oh, there we go. Let me see if I can grab that. Is it going to allow me to grab it? Yeah, I've got it. I just trying to figure out how I can't copy and paste the URL. Can you just email it to me, or I'll be able to grab it easier that way? Yeah, sorry about that. And by the way, I think was someone else wanting to join us the live stream a moment ago. Did I see as well? Was it Muriel? Elenia, was it? Was she wanting to join us on the live stream?
No, I think she was just curious to see what it's about.
Oh, right, okay.
Please do. Elenia, just indicate if you'd like to join us.
Yeah, and you just use the StreamYard link you can see there if you'd like to join us, by the way. So your question really is about your LinkedIn profile, but is it also about, so you mentioned your relevant parts of your career sort of trying to wind down, so you're not so overworked, no doubt.
Exactly.
So have you got other associates you can work with as well?
Yes, but what I focus on So I focus on a small niche market, and so it's mainly people who are at the deputy director levels who want to be directors. So those are the people I work with, and in the civil service, I am working with 5 people at the moment who are at director level and aspire to become general directors, director generals. So I've really scaled down. I used to run large leadership programs. I don't do that anymore, because then that's when I need associates and a proper office running. And I want to go to the operas now and have more fun with my husband. I don't know how much longer he will be alive, so quality of life is very important for me.
Yeah, I could entirely understand that as well. So that's really important. I've got your LinkedIn profile up now. Let me just, I think I have. Just bear me a second. I've got to try and close these down as well. So I've got so many alerts come up on my screen. Right, I'm going to try and share it. So just bear me a second. Share screen. Chrome tab. There we go. Yeah, hopefully I've got your details coming up now. So there we go. I think everyone can see all the messages on the right-hand side. So just ignore those. And I may not be able to see everything on your profile because we're not actually connected at the moment. But I'll probably see enough at this point. But yeah, this is your about section, isn't it? So let's have a look at your strapline. So actually, your strapline is pretty good because basically it says broadly speaking what you do, which is really good. If you could think of a really good strapline for yourself, that would work even better, because ideally in one sentence or one short sentence, you want people to actually be able to get to the nub of your proposition without going any further, if that makes sense, because that will encourage people to actually engage with you. But overall, that strapline is pretty good. It's a lot better than many we can see. And obviously, because of your credibility as well in the CBE, etc., that really stands out. If you have a look down here, that very much builds on you as a person and your expertise. Now, interesting enough, it's been written in the third person. Did you write this, or did you get someone else to write it for you?
I wrote it. I tend to write in the third person when I'm referring to myself, but perhaps I shouldn't be doing that.
Yes, it's really interesting. We generally tend to suggest when you talk about yourself, you perhaps write it as an eye context, but refer to you and yours. So especially the first part here, because that's all about you personally, if that makes sense. So, but you need to write it with the other person in mind, so it's in a you and your context. Now, in terms of English, pure English, the way you've done it here is great. And actually, overall, again, this is definitely one of the top 25% of profiles we look at. So that's being a little bit pedantic over it. So it's a bit building on yourself a little bit personally initially, then building on your company organization, the credibility of your organization, and then tying into people's pain points works well. So interesting enough, you've got that here, which is really good. But I'd suggest you actually put that above the other one, so that your pain points come first, and then the key benefits or solutions that you offer come afterwards. And if you can write this in a you and your context rather than third person, although it's really good English what you've written there, it makes it much more personal to you, the clients or people you're working with, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. I will do the detailed work with you. I will engage some consultancy and go through it in proper details.
No, that's all right. No, overall, it's really good though. And then you've got the link here. Now, this is a very long link, but then I can see why it is. This is building information yourself. You've got your YouTube link there, which is good. I'd suggest, if you're happy to do so, let's have a look at. Actually, I'm not, because this might be limited what I can see here. Okay, so you've got your website there. That's good. If you're happy to do so, it does pay to repeat your contact details down there, your email address and phone number, because just as we can see here, not always the information will be available to people who are not connected with you.
So it can be beneficial. But that, believe me, that's a really good profile overall. You've filled that in nicely. Yeah, board trustees, a lot of experience here as well, and recommendations, 29 of them. So fantastic. So that's really good. So that's, again, that's a really good example. So I don't know whether that's of any use to you, but certainly by all means reach out with myself or Muriel personally on that. Sorry, I've just realized I can't see you now. There we go, got you back again. Yeah, so has that helped a little bit in terms of what I've shared?
Yes, but as I said, I will reach out to you both and do the work in more detail, because from what I gathered from it makes a lot of sense, and I really could optimize it and make it even better. So I will do the work with you.
Excellent. Okay. Right. I think I see some new comments that just come through as well. Right, okay. I can see Manoj is about to submit the diagnostic. Thank you for that. Yeah, so some other points or questions you'd like to flag up, Neslin, or is there anything you'd like to raise?
Thank you. I have totally enjoyed the seminar. There are elements of it that I will take on, not all of it, because as I said, I'm not looking to scale. So it's steady flow at my stage at the moment, and I recognize that if you're not growing, you're dying. So it's the paradox. But it's interesting, isn't it?
Yes.
So it's about managing that paradox. It's not quite staying the same, but I don't know. But I think it's something I can work out with you both.
Very, very well done, by the way, and congratulations. And obviously, it's nice to meet someone who's made such a massive contribution to society. So keep up the good work with everything you're also doing. So
thank you.
Absolutely.
Neslin, what we'll do is we'll let you return to the Facebook page, okay, and just make sure you turn your loudspeaker back on when you go into Facebook. Okay. So
I think I closed it.
Okay.
I didn't want the feedback.
No,
okay.
don't worry. So if you just reopen the tab, go to a shortcut to it is businessgrowthbureau.com/Facebook. Okay. Just add /Facebook on the end. Sorry, it's .tv, I should say, businessgrowthbureau.tv/Facebook. If you try to join us, rejoin us there. And I will
rejoin you there. Yes, that I was doing that through Safari. So I'll go back to Safari and join you there.
Lovely. All right, we'll see you later.
Thank
Thank you so much. Lovely speaking, Neslin. Thank you.
God bless you. Take care.
Thank you. Right, what an amazing lady, honestly.
Absolutely. Wow. Lovely lady.
I feel very humbled by that, I must admit. So, Mira, am I seeing any questions here?
I don't think we have missed any.
Okay. So, in which case, what we'll do is we'll perhaps go back to the slide deck a second. Just wait a second. So, got there's a few buttons to press here to bring it all back again. Right, there we go. So we're back to where we were. So I think everyone could see that okay. So let's just have a quick refresh of where we're at. In terms of BizGrowth Time Machine, these are some of the different stats you get from Time Machine, and also the way you can interact with people there and through the network. And also this Thursday is basically on your optimized systems for business growth. And it's talking a lot more about why your numbers are so important in terms of working out your strategy moving forwards, and determining strategy as well, and looking at your brand and value proposition, how it should be at the center of everything, and what you should do really to amplify your brand to get a message out there, and the social selling blueprint, and why you should focus on making your clients feel so special. So that's this Thursday. So you can sign up for the live stream from our website by going to Business Growth Bureau TV, and then choosing from drop-down menu events, and it will take you there. Now, I think what we're going to do is we're going to have the Amazon prizes now, which we promised to do. And Muriel, and this is a bit of a difficult question because certain people have been very vocal today, which is fantastic. I think several of you actually also very kindly shared the content today and also liked it as well. So Muriel, have we got any prize winners there, would you say?
I think for most interaction has got to be Elena or Eliana. yeah, she's been very, very interactive.
Lovely. Okay, so I think, Eliana, you've got the £20 Amazon vouchers. So very, very well done on that. And they've got to choose 2 runner-ups on that.
Well, I definitely think Dr. Neslin should be rewarded for
as you said that.
coming on screen.
so
and I'll leave the other one up to you.
Oh, God, thank you very much. So Neslin, £10 Amazon voucher for you. So if both of you could very kindly email us in your Amazon, if you've got an Amazon account, that is, your Amazon email address. Now, bear in mind that may be different from your normal address. Okay, if you give us the wrong one, the money will go to someone else by mistake. So just bear that in mind. Okay.
I suppose what we could do, Rupert, is the last voucher could go to the person who completed the diagnostic as per your request and let us have it during the break.
Well, the only thing is with that, Muriel, was lots of people did it before. So is that fair? That's just one question.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of people. Think of someone else that we can pick out on today. So let's.
Could you maybe ask a question based on what you shared earlier?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. This is a bit cruel, but the first person who shares this and tells us you've done it in the chat today, this live stream today, wins the next £10 voucher. So the first person who does it and very kindly just puts the name in the chat so we know, shares this live stream, then we will use that as for the next £10 one. So so do go for that. Now, any sort of questions from everyone else today? We obviously gladly answer those for you now. If not, we've actually pretty well wrapped things up in record time, actually. So I can't believe it. Those me wondering whether I got too much content. Right now, thank you, Marish. That's a great question. Now, Marish has actually asked a question there, which is how many messages per day LinkedIn allowed to unknown people? Okay. Now, this is not a systems restriction; it's a LinkedIn restriction. Okay. And to make it doubly difficult, LinkedIn won't tell you what the numbers actually are. Okay. So, as far as the system is concerned, in terms of sending out connection requests, it can handle up to 100 connection requests a day. But what I would say to you is we would not recommend sending out that number. And in fact, we generally don't recommend going out above 50 connection requests a day. There's a difference between connection requests and also follow-up messages in LinkedIn. Connection requests are only sent out to those people who are part of your network. Okay. If you once someone's in your network, you can communicate with people much more easily and also at a faster rate. Now, obviously, we're not encouraging people to spam on LinkedIn at all. It is about trying to always do the right thing and treating people like human beings. Okay. Now, LinkedIn, if you've got a fairly mature network, so for example, Muriel's got quite a mature LinkedIn network. I think it's about 14,000 connections on LinkedIn, Muriel, you've now have, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, to send out 50 connection requests a day on the whole is pretty safe because Muriel, as far as LinkedIn is concerned, is sort of trusted on the network, and it's a mature network, and LinkedIn know that she doesn't abuse the platform. If you're relatively new on LinkedIn or your number of first-level connections is fairly small, then you may find that to go much above about 25 messages a day, as has been mentioned by someone else, Manoj, is closer to being the figure. But like anything else, you need to actually build a bit of trust with LinkedIn or currency with LinkedIn to start with before you can start to really increase the numbers. So it may be if you just sign up for LinkedIn, maybe it's 10 or 15 messages a day to start with. Then over perhaps after 2 or 3 weeks, you perhaps go up to about 15 or 20. Then once your network's grown a little bit in size, then you may be able to get up to about 40 or 50 messages a day. But the rules, LinkedIn won't tell you what the rules are. And if you were to send a connect request out with a sales message in it, or the follow-up message that went out after that with a sales message in there, people can get a little bit upset by it. So, and LinkedIn do measure the number of people who, as a percentage, accept the connection requests as well, or ones where people hit a button which says, I don't know this person.
So it's not a hard and fast answer, Manoj. I'm sorry about that. If you tell me how many people in your network, that's helpful to know. Yeah, and I can see another question coming about the recording for today. What will happen? This is being streamed over Facebook, YouTube Live, and Periscope. So as soon as this finishes, the recording will stay on there. It'll also be on our website for the next hour or so as well. And then we'll also be doing a little bit of an edit on this, and it'll be potentially rebroadcast again in a couple of weeks' time.
Rupert, Lady D has asked, is it possible to get some more information on referrals?
Right, is that questions and referrals? Okay, so just a top tip on that part on the referral side. Now, let's take a real scenario. Let's say you're a member of, let's say BNI, because it's obviously one of the largest networks in the world, and that is known as being, active pitching is actively encouraged on BNI, certainly face-to-face, much more so than it is through other networks. Even if you're a member of a network like BNI, you would still want to build up the relationship with the person first. So you might be turning up for 6:30, 7 o'clock for your networking in the morning for that, as a case in point, under normal circumstances. But in real terms, if you go out straight with a pitch about yourself to start with, as you well know, people can start to back off very quickly because they feel very uncomfortable. Also, the other thing is as well, in someone's mind, when you're having a conversation with them, they're thinking to themselves, actually, this person hasn't got what I'm interested in. However, there might be someone else who could benefit from that person's service. If you actually approach things the wrong way, you can actually harm that relationship with that person. And what will happen is that you won't be seen as being a safe referral. Now, why am I going to this for a physical presence? Well, it's even more so on something like LinkedIn. If you actually on LinkedIn, in the connection request, go out with any form of sales message at all, that will dramatically reduce the chance of someone accepting the connection request. Also, they're more likely to hit the report button, and your connection is that much less likely to be accepted. With a thank you message that goes out after that, we still don't suggest that it's about sharing value. So with that, it's a link to a video, which is a non-promotional video, or it could be a link to a downloadable PDF, which again is a sharing value PDF. It's not a sales document, okay? With that, it's about trying to build up a bit of trust with that person so they want to engage with you. And then the follow-up message after that would typically where you might go in with a question, which is very relevant. Don't try and combine 2 or 3 questions into one. Try and keep it to one simple question. And that way people will be much more likely to engage. And it then really goes out from there. So hopefully that's answered that question a little bit. If it's after recommendations on the LinkedIn platform, what's quite nice, it does encourage reciprocity. So if I gave you a recommendation as a case in point, what would happen? LinkedIn would prompt you to give one back. Okay, so that LinkedIn's great like that, and recommendations account for a lot on the platform because it's a business professional network. So don't underestimate the importance of that. Now, interestingly enough, on Facebook, is what I've described there is actually not too dissimilar. So if you were putting out messages on Facebook, the first message you would put out would be something where you're sharing value. Okay, so you might be sharing a story of someone some way of actually connecting with people. The next message you would send out this would be either paid for or as free. It would be more how to do something, what people can learn from you for free by engaging with you. Okay. Now with that one, you could potentially put a link in there. With the first one, we recommend you don't. And then the next one would really be like the follow-up one, or and that one you could directly link through to some form of advert or some form of lead form or something that goes through to your website. So even on things like Facebook, we would still recommend a similar approach. It's about finding a way of connecting with someone, accelerating that relationship of trust, sharing value, i.e. how to do something up front without any expectation in return. And then the follow-up one would really be where you might then have a link to your website or a lead form and so on. Now, obviously, the methods of marketing on that could be very different, because you might be using videos to share value, or it might be a post or an article. It may be like a hybrid thing where you've got multiple posts where you can actually then stage which ones come up. But it's just sort of general good practice. Yeah, so any other questions or points? Has anyone raised their Muriel, which I might have missed?
No.
Okay. Well, I think in that case, I think we can call it pretty well a wrap. If you do want to join us on Thursday, just simply go to our website, choose the option to register for a live stream. You've got the option there to actually choose either continue, which books you just for the one session, or you can choose recurring, and that way you will be able to book multiple weeks. The other thing, which is also really useful, is if you go to our website again, choose TV/videos as a drop down, and you'll see previous live streams. Now, earlier on, we spent a bit of time talking about brand and value proposition. You may find last week's live stream recording really useful to you, because Barnaby Winter did a really great session with me last week, and you'll get lots of insight from that. So do join in. So anyway, I think on that note, we'll just say thank you very much today for
Rupert,
joining. Yeah.
Sorry, what was the last competition for the voucher?
It was a £10 one. So first one was £20.
Yeah, but what were you giving it for? We haven't announced the winner.
Oh God, sorry. Yeah. So what did I? Yeah. So those. If someone's shared in the last few minutes today's live stream, just let us know in the chat, and we'll make sure you get notified in that. So a chance for you to do that now.
Right, I think Alina is the only one that's come back to us, that she's just shared it on her timeline. Is that what you meant? Yeah.
Yes, I think yes. Don't share your Amazon link in on Facebook. Just email us with that, Alina, if that's all right. All right. No one's come forward with that one, so let's just choose someone who else has taken part today, just as a thank you. Someone else who, right? You got
Rupert, sorry.
Yeah.
What do they have to do to get this voucher?
To just simply share the this live stream with their network on Facebook.
Right, that's what I believe Alina's done.
No, Alina's won a prize already, hasn't she?
Yeah, she has.
Yeah. Okay, Alina, you got it anyway. There you go. You got the second one. I think that's fair, because you've been very supportive anyway. So thank you very much. So two £10 vouchers for sorry, a £20 and a £10, isn't it, to Alina? And £10 one to Nestlin. Lovely. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Hopefully, thoroughly enjoyed today. Hopefully, we'll see you on the live stream on Thursday. Yeah, take care. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye.